Finn reports from Tucson, Arizona.
Agents are scouring the area around Nancy's home here and also her daughter Annie's house. So this morning, one of our crew members saw the Pima County forensic team searching Campbell Road, which is a major thoroughfare that leads here into this neighborhood. And then yesterday, also investigators found a black glove about a mile away from Nancy Guthrie's home. The glove could ultimately offer critical DNA evidence.
The man in video footage released Tuesday was wearing black gloves at the Guthrie home around the time the 84-year-old was kidnapped. A hearing about to start in the Senate focused on controversial immigration enforcement in Minnesota that could have Democrats again sparring with ICE's acting director. As the U.S. military continues to patrol off the South American coast where suspected drug trafficking boats have been blown up the past 5 months, two American Navy ships collide.
The guided missile destroyer USS Truxtun and the supply-class fast combat support ship USNS Supply collided Wednesday afternoon during a replenishment at sea when ships sail side by side to transfer fuel and supplies. U.S. Southern Command says 2 people suffered minor injuries and are in stable condition, and both ships remain safe to continue operations. The cause is under investigation.
That's Fox's Matt Murphy. Ukraine has bombed a Russian military storage site containing missiles and weapons and attacked an oil refinery, while another Russian barrage overnight hit several cities in Ukraine, including the capital, Kyiv. An athlete from Ukraine who took a stand against the war was disqualified today at the Winter Olympics.
Vladislav Heraskevich was considered a medal contender in the skeleton event, but the International Olympic Committee president, who was waiting for him at the start of the course, told him he has to leave the games in northern Italy. His specially designed helmet displayed images of Ukrainian athletes killed as a result of Russia's invasion.
That's Jonathan Savage. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
They were plotting a school shooting. You have a clear radar over downtown Indianapolis where it's 20 degrees. We're going up to 42 today. Good morning. I'm Ryan Hedrick. Here's what's trending at 9:02. A second teenager has been arrested in a plot to attack Morristown Junior-Senior High School, a plan that police say was inspired by the Columbine shooting. Back in January, 17-year-old Alexis Pickett from Rush County was charged after being accused of plotting the school shooting that was set to be carried out in May. Police say that she was not acting alone. They discovered she had been communicating with another 17-year-old girl named Melanie Little from Corinth, Mississippi. They were using apps like Telegram and Discord to coordinate the attack. Little was arrested yesterday and will be brought back to Indiana soon to face charges. The town of Speedway hit a property management company group recently with a fine. Johnette Cruz explains why.
Residents at a Speedway apartment complex are facing a messy health hazard. Town officials say they discovered raw sewage being illegally diverted into the parking lot at the Legend at Speedway while checking on snow removal. The property owner, KPM Property Management, was given 2 days to fix the problem but failed to take action. As a result, the town has issued a $2,000 fine. Town manager Grant Kleinhez says they won't stop issuing tickets until the site is safe and sanitary for the families living there. Johnette Cruz, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
The Hamilton County coroner says he needs your help. He's asking to help identify a possible 12th victim connected to the Fox Hollow Farms murders, linked to a person that police believe was a serial killer named Herb Baumeister. Human remains were found at a Westfield home and have a DNA profile, but nobody has been identified. So far, 11 of Baumeister's victims have been confirmed. An investment from Meta means that there's a new data center campus in Lebanon. Here's John Herrick.
Indiana Governor Mike Braun and Meta executives broke ground on a $10 billion data center campus in Lebanon Wednesday. Rachel Peterson is the vice president of data centers at Meta, and she says this center will operate on a closed-loop water system.
This means for the majority of the year, we're going to actually use zero water. So we're minimizing water usage as much as possible, and for the water we do use, we're committed to restoring 100% of that here locally in the watershed.
She says Meta will be contributing to local and state tax bases as well as supporting schools and nonprofits. John Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
And the Indiana Pacers continue winning. They beat the Brooklyn Nets 115-110 last night. I'm Ryan Hedrick. And with traffic, here's Matt Bear.
North side, eastbound 465 slow after Michigan Road over to 31. And a crash on the south side, English Avenue and Emerson Avenue. South side, northbound 65, still slow Raymond Street into the south, but it's a construction zone. Traffic sponsored By Straight Talk Wireless, every now and then you find a deal where you get more and pay less. Now that's a good deal. Straight Talk Wireless on Verizon's 5G network. Find it exclusively at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. I'm Matt Bear on the 5s at WIBC Traffic.
Hi, I'm Brian, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company, and we've partnered with Cupid to bring you the best Valentine's Day gifts, even if you forgot. We won't tell. From heart necklaces with sparkling diamonds to stylish gold hoops, every piece is made with love. Plus, there's still time to propose. We make it easy to create their dream engagement ring. We have meaningful gifts for every budget. It'll look like you've been planning this for months. Come see us in store or at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Pella provides window and door replacement with products you can trust. For a limited time, call 833-87-PELLA or visit PellaIndy.com/radio and get 22% off Pella products. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Meet Drexel Interior's new cabinet line, Drexel Select. Premium cabinets with multiple colors and free in-store design. Get yours in just 5 days. Visit DrexelIN.com to upgrade your home today.
Now your forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Chilly conditions tonight with temperatures falling to 26. Could see a few slick spots early Friday morning. A beautiful day, partly cloudy with highs near 47. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Tara Hastings for 93 WIBC.
It's still chilly. We're sitting at 20 degrees in the capital city. I'm Ryan Hedrick on the level, on the go, and at WIBC.com.
Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin.
Deflecting Bondi pro tip when you have to talk stock market gains because you can't answer to the victims of the world's biggest pedophile cabal. You know you've lost the narrative. Pam Bondi with her two modes, screeching to Democrats and purring to Republicans. Where is the integrity? That's the big question. Are we talking about institutional cover-up? We're going to get more into what Pam Bondi had to say at her 5-hour testimony before the House Judiciary Committee. Another big story, another state wants the Chicago Bears.
You get a Bears team, and you get a Bears team, and you get a Bears team.
The big story locally, yesterday, Meta released renderings of its $10 billion, 1,500-acre data center. And Mike Braun was there. He was joined by executives at the groundbreaking. And Nikki Kelly is going to join us at 10 o'clock. We're going to get in depth with her about that. But I'm curious, with all of the talk of the sweetheart deal with the IEDC, the water issues, will it affect utilities? Nikki, what was your biggest takeaway from the groundbreaking yesterday?
Wow. I mean, having been at the event, I was just most struck by this massive package that Meta is putting out there, I think, to try to garner, public support and goodwill with the community. I think we've seen pushback against data centers all around Indiana. So they're trying to answer every single question they can, from water to electricity to helping, work-based learning opportunities. They're just really put together this sort of well-rounded package to try to, present themselves as a neighbor and not someone just, coming in to take the farmland and all the resources.
Now, we've been told about the jobs that are going to be created because of this, and that is something that the governor, Mike Braun, has been hanging his hat on. Do you believe that these jobs will remain permanent? Is it really going to help grow the economic state of the state?
Well, I mean, it depends what you're talking about. Construction jobs, they say, will reach 4,000 at the peak of construction because this is going to happen over several phases. Now, in terms of full-time operational jobs, once it's going, it's only 300 jobs. It's not as intensive as warehousing or manufacturing in terms of long-term, full-time employment.
Nikki Kelly from Indiana Capitol Chronicle. She'll be joining us at 10 o'clock. We'll talk more about the LEAP project and how the state is being paid money for the detainees that ICE has been holding on to. But let's go back to Pam Bondi. She defended the DOJ's work, saying more than 3 million pages of records and 180,000 images have been released, and that the mistakes around the redactions will be fixed. We have never had an administration that has come out or maneuvered out of a scandal successfully.
This is Pam Bondi's testimony yesterday in front of Congress was an absolute disaster. And we talked about this. And I remember filling in during the 2024 election and you know, Trump was building his Avengers. He had Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance and Elon Musk and RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. And I remember specifically saying at the time, you know, while these people are really strong in certain areas, there's something off about a lot of them. And what Trump kind of assembled here was this island of misfit toys. And, you know, when he won the presidency, I said his mandate is to these people is going to be move fast and break stuff. And that's exactly what they've done. But when you do that, things are going to get messy and things are going to get sloppy and mistakes are going to get made. And it's how you manage and handle that mistakes that's going to determine your future. And so far, and this isn't just one mistake from Pam Bondi. We've seen multiple mistakes from her since she's come into that position. But it's gotten to the point right now that Trump has got to do something because Bondi was a disaster yesterday.
So let's talk about some of those multiple mistakes. You're referencing the infamous influencers with the white binders that were showing off at the White House.
Well, the biggest mistake she made, and we talked about this yesterday, was the fact that she overpromised and underdelivered during the campaign. She talked about how day one, those Epstein files are going to be on my desk and I'm going to release them all. Yeah. And then nothing came out. And then she had all the conservative influencers, including libs of TikTok, and they all came to the White House and they all got their binders with what was supposed to be revelations about the Epstein files. And it reminded me of that internet meme. I hope you're ready. For nothing, because there was nothing in those binders. And every step of the way during this, you know, file release process that we've been in through right now, it seems like the Department of Justice just keeps making mistake after mistake after mistake. And look, I get that. And there are ways that you can manage mistakes and come back from those mistakes. But the way she acted in front, I mean, and the other bad part about this too is when the lights are the brightest. That's when she looks the most ridiculous. She's the LeBron James of cabinet secretaries. You know, there's 20 seconds left in the game. You're down by 1 point, and it's Game 6 of the NBA Finals, and LeBron James takes the shot, and he totally misses it. Every time those lights are bright and shining on Pam Bondi, she totally misses it.
She repeatedly defended the department's transparency. She insisted that mistakes would be corrected if lawmakers pointed them out. She also repeatedly defended Donald Trump and his record. And I don't know. There's nothing. She was deflecting. That's what it was. When they were asking the tough questions, she went to how the Dow is over $50,000.
The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does the Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan. Committee will be in order.
That's what this is all about, making Americans safe. And she's completely missing the point. It does highlight the ongoing political tension over the DOJ and their lack of transparency. Pam Bondi, she is smart. She's pretty. She's obstructing justice.
Yeah, and I think what she was trying to do here, it seemed like she was trying to be a little bit like Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary for the White House, who, by the way, is spectacular. Caroline Leavitt could teach a master class in how to debate and how to handle questions from adversaries like the press in a professional exemplary manner. Caroline Leavitt's fantastic at it, and she does it every single day in those press briefings. Pam Bondi is not Caroline Leavitt, and I think she tried to channel a little bit what Caroline Leavitt does here, and she just came across as looking silly. And this is what's so frustrating, and I've been talking about this a lot, and I hate this, but it's the honest truth, and everybody needs to brace themselves for it. We're not going to see justice for these Epstein victims. I don't see any world where people are going to jail because of this, because there's so much obstruction, because there's so many powerful people that don't want this out, and because every bit of the evidence right now is very circumstantial. Very little of it would be able to be used in a court of law. Oh, and by the way, statute of limitations has expired for a lot of these crimes. So we're not going to get this justice that we want. We're not going to see people in jail because of this, which leaves us left with the truth and transparency. That's really the only justice or the only clarity that we're going to get from this. And I think this is why people are so upset. We just want to know what happened. And if we have to publicly shame certain individuals because we know that there's not enough there to prosecute them, then that's what we're going to do. But Pam Bondi keeps fighting it and throwing off these red herrings like you shouldn't be asking questions about Epstein because the Dow is at an all-time record high. She sounded like a child. She sounded like a spoiled 14-year-old brat stamping her feet on the ground because, she's trying to argue that she shouldn't get grounded by her parents.
She said at one point the other day that institutions would fall if we had the full truth and transparency. What are the institutions now if they're propping up this pedophile cabal that we've had in place? That's okay. That institution should fall. Democrats have been saying that they're pursuing justice, and that is fraudulent because they didn't pursue anything when Biden was in office. Some people are saying this is political theater. I don't know. I think these people actually hate each other. And that's even worse because that shows you they're not going to get anything done together.
Yeah, the Democrats look like fools for this as well by trying to turn this into all of it. They're doing a lot of chest puffing and we want the truth now that Trump's in office. When Biden was office, no, we didn't want the truth at all.
Didn't care
we
at all.
didn't want to talk about this. Oh, and by the way, when Biden was office, Democrats had control of both houses of Congress and could have released any of these documents that they wanted. And now they're there slamming their fist on the table at these hearings saying, we want transparency, when you had all the opportunity in the world to do transparency 4 years ago.
So this increased polarization, it's not good for a united country. And here is Pam Bondi going up against Nadler.
So I really have just one question for you. How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer the question the way I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people, but I'm going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Again, the time belongs to
Reclaiming my time.
The time belongs.
I think it's very interesting.
Reclaiming my time.
I think it's very interesting.
You can
When
reclaim
he
your
talks
time.
about they
Reclaiming
indicted,
my time, Mr.
the
Chairman.
president said they indicted him twice.
Mr. Chairman, please
They
stop the
sure
clock
did.
and stop the clock and restore his time.
Okay, here we go with these
Committee will be in order.
theatrics.
The time belongs to the gentleman from New York. We will give you a few more seconds. We will do that. But when you ask a question, the witness gets to answer. You may not like the answer, but she gets to answer.
The question was, how many of Epstein's...
They don't like the answer, Chairman,
my time.
because it's honest.
Reclaiming
So he asked a
Reclaiming my
4-minute
time.
question.
Restore 45
and
seconds to
I am
Mr. Nadler,
going
please,
to
Mr. Chairman.
Answer.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I
anything.
did tell you because we
Washed
saw
up.
what you did in the
Who's
Senate.
a lawyer? Not even a lawyer.
Not even a lawyer. Oh, gosh. So when will the remaining documents be released? And does she agree with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino that Epstein is dead? And why did she bring the influencers to the White House? Why did she appear on Fox News 1,000 times talking about we're going to hold these people accountable and we're all about the victims and then not release the files?
My favorite part about that clip we just heard was Democrat Jerry Nadler asking Pam Bondi, how many different people are they investigating and planning on indicting a part of this? Because I remember years ago when he did the same thing to Biden's Department of Justice head, Merrick Garland. You remember when No, that's right. The Democrats didn't ask any questions of Merrick Garland when Biden was in office about who they're going to be indicting with the Epstein trial. But all of a sudden, Republicans are in office and Democrats get tough. We're going to be tough on this. I'm going to ask you tough questions, Pam Bondi.
You're listening to 93 WIBC.
Home for the best variety of the 20s.
We're in the 20s, which I'm pretty sure is malt liquor weather.
30s.
As long as the sun's shining, I'll take it.
And 40s.
I'm always one day behind the weather. Temperatures are sticking around the 40s, just like where Democrats keep their statewide vote totals.
The best variety of Midwest weather.
I mean, it's 50 degrees right now, but tomorrow we will be freezing our butts off.
Follow Indiana's best variety.
It was in the upper 40s yesterday.
We're lucky to hit 20 today. Are you kidding?
On 93 WIBC.
Mom, it's me. Oh my gosh, you'll never believe what I just opened for Valentine's Day. A sapphire ring from Hellsberg, just like the one I lost years ago. Remember how excited I was when you gave it to me? I cannot believe he remembered that story. I guess you were right. I really found the one.
This Valentine's Day, create a moment that means something with up to 40% off gifts at Hellsberg. Shop in store or at hellsberg.com.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577. For service today. Today.
My grades were bad. I would get D's and C's.
I appeared to be doing good at my school life, but if you would see me at home, it would have been a completely different story.
I mean, it was just rough focusing on school when your mother is somebody you have to take care of. It got worse and worse and worse throughout the years.
There are students who need somebody.
They can trust someone, and it could be the first person they've ever trusted in their life.
Communities in Schools is lowering America's dropout rate by helping more than 1.3 million kids every year get whatever they need to succeed in school.
If something was going on at home, we would go just stop by Miss Liberty's office and talk to her.
Communities in Schools vouched for me when everyone else had lost hope.
You can help change the picture of education right here in your community and across the nation. Visit communitiesinschools.org.
I hear people say we can't save every kid, but I think that we can.
As you know, I had my garage floor coated with Galaxy concrete coatings a while back, and like anyone, I did some homework before I said, let's do this. Here are some things that I found out. First, Galaxy concrete coatings is local and ready to give you and all of Indianapolis a transformation. Next, Galaxy concrete coatings is 4 times stronger than epoxy, and it's designed to not only work in your garage, but they can also use it on driveways, walkways, around your pool or patio. With it being UV resistant, it will not yellow. Oh, and it's ready to go in 24 hours, so you can drive, walk, run, dance, splash on it right away. Now for my fun part. I got you 15% off. Just tell them when you call 317-343-0879 you want the Casey deal. You got to tell them the Casey deal for 15% off. And check out their site at galaxyconcretecoatings.com. They are truly out of this world.
Straight Talk Wireless presents Pickup Truck Wisdom.
The smartest way to spend your money is not to. Straight Talk offers free 5G phones for new and existing customers on Verizon's 5G network. So the refund money I don't spend on that free phone is the refund money I get to keep for my family. Smart.
Find us at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Straight Talk Wireless. Straightforward. Always. Taxes and fees apply. Plan purchase required for free phone offers. Copyright 2026 Verizon.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Join us every Friday right around 5:50 for Beer Sample Friday.
Brought to you by Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus, home of free delivery within 75 miles of their store.
Actors are cooks and stuntmen are now going to be obsolete. There was a video that was released yesterday and it looked so real. It was truly scary. It was created with C-Dance, which is now a cutting-edge AI video generation model and platform. And what you can do is you can type in a prompt via text and then upload an image and it will generate a video that matches the description. Now, the one that I saw featured the likeness of Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, and they had a fight scene. And were they talking about Epstein files? I think that's what they were talking about.
Yeah, it was. And if you spent any time on social media yesterday, you probably saw this clip because it absolutely blew up and was trending everywhere.
You killed Jeffrey Epstein, you animal! He was a good man!
He knew too much about our Russia operations. He had to die, and now you die too.
And the thing about this, now, I didn't think the voices matched very well.
Yeah, that was your one complaint about it. Brad Pitt sounded like Brad Pitt. The second voice you heard was supposed to be Tom Cruise, and I agree, didn't quite sound like Tom Cruise. But this was, and it seems like every week that we talk about another AI video that was, is incredible and shocking because you can't believe how real it looks. And this clip was only about 15 seconds long. It was very short, and they're fighting on this rooftop, and they got bloody faces. It's a classic movie fist fight that's going on between these two, but it just absolutely shocked everybody on social media yesterday because of how realistic it was. And we've already been conditioned. Look, we've seen the AI videos for a good year or two now, and we're shocked by them, or we're like, wow, that looks real. But you saw this. It looked cinema quality. It was letterbox like you watch in movie theaters. It was high definition. The visuals were crisp and clear. The audio was clear. This was something that we hadn't seen before.
It was next level.
It was next level, and it shocked a lot of people.
So C-Dance is part of this next wave of AI video tech, and it lets users make professional looking videos almost instantly with these single prompts. It's bypassing traditional film, bypassing traditional editing. So this is going to put Hollywood on edge, as they already are, and puts these actors in their proper place in society, that they will just become models for future AI generation. People are questioning, well, can you make a full-length film with this? Yeah.
Maybe,
yeah, you can.
Maybe not today, but 2 weeks ago, we couldn't make this 15-second clip.
Yeah, you would have had Brad Pitt with 3 arms or
yeah, there's that classic
6 fingers.
AI-generated picture that came from Minnesota and the ice operation up there where one of the guys didn't have a head. It was obvious. This wasn't that. 2 weeks from now, they'll be able to do a 60-second version. And 2 months from now, they'll be able to do 30 minutes. And by the end of the year, they'll probably be able to fully produce an entire 2-hour movie for this. One of the reasons why this started trending so much is that the co-writer for the movie Deadpool and Wolverine, his name was Rhett Reese, tough to say, and he tweeted out and simply just said, it's likely over for us.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have talked about this a lot, and I understand the trepidation around AI, and I see the reactions that this generates, and it's usually people saying, using phrases like AI slop and I'm never going to use AI and, we've got to fight this for everything. It's happening, whether you like it or not. And from my perspective, I see a lot of similarities potentially coming between what we're seeing with AI and what I experienced working in media, as I worked for a media company that owned a ton of newspapers at the time. And so you can equate this. In 2006, that was peak newspaper. They saw more revenue and more profits than the newspaper industry had ever seen. In 2006, they generated $50 billion worth of revenue in this country. And 4 years later, in 2010, that was cut in nearly half.
Mm-hmm.
That is how quickly the newspaper industry absolutely cratered. And I see AI doing that for many, many industries. And it's going to come, and it's going to come fast.
Well, you say it's going to come. No, it's already here. One thing that this makes me think is that this will give rise to theater and live orchestra performances. People will be going to see humans instead of going to the movie theater.
Yeah, maybe all of a sudden Broadway plays become more valuable to the consumer's mind because we can see that that's a real person standing on stage. And I know that you say that AI is here, but for most average everyday people, you're going into your job today, it's highly likely that AI hasn't really impacted your day-to-day life yet. These are kind of toys. These AI toys, they're just toys right now. Oh, we can create this funny 15-second clip of Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise having a fist fight and talking about Jeffrey Epstein. That's silly. Okay, that's how it starts. The silliness is going to wear off really quickly, and it's going to become serious, and the jobs that are going to be replaced are likely going to be massive, and we've already started to see that just a little bit as far as the jobs picture go, but if the advancements that we're seeing in this video creation happen this quickly and we see those sorts of advancements happen that quickly in the jobs industry and all these industries where AI is going to impact it, it's going to give everybody whiplash, and it's going to happen very
Everything
very
that I've seen is people say, well, I used it back in 2023. I tried it in 2024. No, what is happening now is completely different from even a month ago.
Yeah.
Because AI is now AIing itself. The latest version of ChatGPT 5.0 with the codec, it's increasing its own abilities by itself. No longer is it being prompted. It's just doing it automatically. You can tell AI, I want an app and this is what I want it to do. It can, what used to take a very long time now only takes minutes, and it's checking itself for judgment and taste without a human prompter. It's saying, this can be better before I let you see my final product.
And I think something you said was really important. Yeah, okay, I tried ChatGPT out last year, and it really didn't do anything. Yeah, you couldn't make this Tom Cruise Brad Pitt video a week ago. So if you were using AI a week ago, it's doing stuff today that it couldn't do a week ago.
Catch up. You're listening to 93 WIBC.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
What the Borders Czar is saying about his Minnesota operation. Right now you have a clear radar over downtown Indianapolis where it's 21 degrees. We're headed up to 42. I'm Ryan Hedrick. Here's what's trending at 9:31. President Trump's Borders Czar, Tom Homan, is holding a press conference right now in Minneapolis.
Look, I just want people to look at the data on what this administration has done. You know, the number of public safety threats we removed from the streets across this country that makes these communities safer. ICE has had an office here for decades.
And Homan says the large-scale operation in Minneapolis will wrap up soon. He says agents have made over 4,000 arrests since ICE began targeted enforcement in the Twin Cities. The FBI says a pair of black gloves was found near Nancy Guthrie's home in southern Arizona yesterday as the search for her continues. It's now in its 12th day. Investigators say the gloves look like the ones worn by someone they saw on surveillance video. They're now being tested for DNA. A Broadway show is coming to your TV soon.
This week, Netflix is filming Stranger Things: The First Shadow Broadway show for a streaming release, so you can enjoy it at home. No timeline or release date has been set yet, but the goal was to capture the original Broadway cast before they depart the production on March 29th. So for now, the production canceled performances through February 14th to allow for filming, but public performances are set to resume February 15th. The story, set in 1959 and written by Stranger Things writer Kate Treyfree, serves as a prequel to the Netflix series, which takes place in the 80s.
That's Fox's Monica DeLuca reporting. And your opening bell report on 93 WIBC brought to you by Absolute Wealth Management, LLC. The Dow is up right now 97 to 50,124. The S&P 500 up 21 points to 6941.47. And the NASDAQ is up about 86.5 points to 25,201. I'm Ryan Hedrick, on the level, on the go, and at WIBC.com.
Hi, this is Denny Smith for Exercise Inc. I've been a client for nearly 20 years, and I can tell you it works. I'm in my 70s now, and I'm doing things on the farm I couldn't even do in my 40s. Lifting, carrying, working without wondering if my body's going to quit on me. That's real strength. That's real results. And I'm not talking about vanity muscles. This is strength that shows up in real life. What makes Exercise Inc. different? The professional coaches, many with over 15 years of experience and a private gym where every workout is guided, efficient, and safe. Here's the best part. It only takes 20 minutes a week. Their training method came out of an osteoporosis research study. Their Simple 9 nutrition program has helped clients lose over 40,000 pounds, and people see real improvements in strength, energy, and health. This isn't a resolution you quit. It's a habit you keep. The consultation's free, and it's worth it. 5 locations: Avon, Brownsburg, Zionsville, and Greenwood. Now in Fishers. Change your life in 20 minutes a week. Go to exerciseinc.com.
In a divided world, music remains our most powerful bridge, an art form that shows us again and again that we belong to one another. Music is the one language the world already shares. It crosses borders, dissolves fear, and reminds us of our common heartbeat. In every culture, in every generation, people turn to music to celebrate, to mourn, to heal, and to hope. It gathers strangers in community and transforms audiences into one collective breath. The Denise Graves Foundation stands where history, artistry, and humanity meet, illuminating untold stories, empowering future legends, and building a world where talent rises because of potential. The world is full of brilliance. We're here to make sure it is never hidden.
That's the American spirit at 200 miles per hour. A spectacle of freedom, innovation, and passion. The passion of nearly 500,000 race fans. An American tradition in its 110th edition. The Indianapolis 500, presented by Gamebridge.
Get tickets now at IMS.com.
United, we race.
My brother never checks on Dad. Or, my sister won't make time to take Mom to the doctor. Are these things you've heard yourself say? This is Tina McIntosh, president of Joy's House and co-host of the Caregiver Crossing radio program. I have a caregiving tip for you. Stay tuned.
Cardon & Associates provides residents with the best senior living options and personalized service. Visit cardon.us to find a community near you.
Expressing anger or resentment toward unsupportive siblings can cause unmendable rifts in relationships. Don't try to control everyone else. You can only control yourself. The success of your caregiving journey does not rest on others. So enjoy the time with your loved one. This is your special time with them. More tips like this are available anytime at caregivercrossingradio.org. With new weekly content created by Joy's House and distributed in partnership with Network Indiana, we're an on-air and online support group for Hoosier family caregivers. Hear conversations with experts, access a library of online education, and more at caregivercrossingradio.org.
2026 has arrived, America's 250th anniversary, and physical gold remains the ultimate store of value in an unsteady world. Gold has outperformed the S&P 500 over the past 20 years. Central banks are stockpiling it. Why? Because possession is the priority. This week only, Global Coin is offering a museum-quality 1-ounce 2026 MS-70 Gold Eagle at the best price in the country. Today's spot price of gold. No dealer markup. Perfect grade. Government issue. The first 50 buyers receive our hardcover critically acclaimed book, Modern Numismatic Masterpieces, absolutely free. This opportunity is brief. Supply is finite. Once this allocation is gone, it's gone. Call right now, 855-COIN-GOLD. That's 855-COIN-GOLD. No premium, just absolute scarcity, absolute quality, and absolute ownership. Anchor your wealth with the asset that lasts. Call 855-COIN-GOLD.
We don't use auto pens. There's no auto pen.
He says he's doing it for national security and trying to revive a crucial American industry. I wish that it would have gone under the Department of Energy or perhaps the Department of Interior. What are we talking about? Donald Trump signing an executive order directing the Department of War to work directly with America's coal plants to purchase power. And he's tying all of this to national defense. Now, alongside the Pentagon, the directive, the Department of Energy is going to provide $175 million for upgrades to 6 coal power plants in Kentucky, North Carolina, Ohio, Virginia, and West Virginia. But they're saying this is all for national security, Department of War. And yes, we need sovereignty. We need to be safe. But how about you say you're doing it so that we have cheaper utility bills?
Well, this is nothing but a backdoor subsidy for the coal industry. That's exactly what this is. And like you said, it's $175 million to upgrade coal plants in several states. And the marketplace should work like the marketplace works, which means if there isn't enough demand for coal and they can't produce this coal at a price that the market wants, then it's likely those coal plants should probably go offline. And it's tough to say that because I feel bad for the people that work in the coal industry and their livelihoods are on the line, but that's the way capitalism works and that's the way the marketplace works. But this is Trump again, and he does this to such a degree that it just drives me crazy. It's him picking winners and losers. This is nothing but a backdoor subsidy for the coal industry.
Yeah, he's tying federal spending to an industry that's been losing market share. Coal, been on the decline for decades. Cheaper gas, renewable energy sources have been chosen instead. But the administration is pushing federal support to reverse that trend. And here is Donald Trump saying that coal is critical to our national security.
Coal is also critical to our national security, vital to everything from steel production to shipbuilding and artificial intelligence. It's incredible what's happening with coal. And it's also incredible how clean they're able to keep it now with all of the new techniques. By using it, they're able to do things environmentally that are amazing. You see that. That's why I'm also pleased to announce that in just a moment, I will sign an executive order that directs the Department of War to work directly with coal plants on the new power purchasing agreements, ensuring that we have more reliable power and stronger and more resilient grid power. And we're going to be buying a lot of coal through the military now, and it's going to be less expensive and actually much more effective than what we have been using for many, many years. And again, with the environmental progress that's been made on coal, it's going to be just as clean.
So no problem with coal. It's the package, how he's messaging it.
Well, and what drives me crazy about this is, so let's put party politics aside. And you know I hate party politics, but let's be intellectually honest about this. Myself included, a lot of people in central Indiana, and myself included, very upset, ranting and railing whenever we see subsidies for things like wind and solar. Anytime somebody talks about solar in the state of Indiana, everybody loses their mind because we know there's a ton of subsidies going there. If that's you, because that's me, but if that's you, you're upset about subsidies for wind and solar, to be intellectually honest, you've got to be upset about these subsidies for coal as well.
So there was an Indiana coal worker who was present. Hoosier Kayla Blackford was representing Indiana coal makers on the national stage.
Thank you, Mr. President. As he said, my name is Kayla Blackford, and I am so proud and honored to be here today representing Peabody and coal miners across this country. My husband and I both work at Bear Run Mine in southern Indiana. I drive a haul truck, and I train others on this large piece of equipment. A haul truck is used to move rock or coal and is capable of carrying loads of nearly 250 tons. The tires are 12 feet tall. When I stand next to one, I barely reach the middle of the tire. It's the best job I've ever had, and not just because of the cool mom points I get for driving big equipment. My job supports my family, it supports our community, and it keeps the lights on and electricity affordable, not just in Indiana, but across the country. As demand increases and our lives become increasingly electrified, America needs to generate more electricity, not less. For years, coal miners have felt the weight of policies that made our future uncertain. Over the past year, that weight has begun to lift.
She's not wrong there. The need for electricity has grown exponentially. Of course, markets responded. There was a rally on coal-related stocks after the announcement. Investors anticipate more demand for coal power.
And I appreciate that woman's story, being a fellow Hoosier and talking about it. And I do feel bad for people that work in the coal industry that might be losing their jobs. But that doesn't mean that we should be subsidizing their industries. Look, I've worked in media and for software companies for 30 years. Not one time ever in my entire career did I work for a company that received a government subsidy. The businesses I worked for had to compete in the marketplace. And yeah, there were times when we had to lay off employees because we were in a financial situation that required that. That's the way that America should work. That's the way capitalism works. And picking winners and losers is always a bad idea. And ultimately, it's always bad for the American people. That's the story here. That is Trump subsidizing the coal industry with this story.
So Governor Mike Braun, he broke ground at Meta. He said the Meta data center campus will create 300 high-paying jobs. The company also committed to pay $1.5 million to the city of Lebanon for each completed phase of the 6-phase project. It's a multi-phase plan with a total investment of more than $10 billion. Project spans about 1,500 acres, is going to include 13 buildings and 10 data center buildings. Well, we were just talking about the need for coal. There you go.
Oh, great. Let the market decide that need for coal. This data center groundbreaking that took place with Mike Braun and Meta yesterday, there is so much. This is like everything that's wrong with politics in our state wrapped up into one. You've got the corrupt IEDC, which we know that they failed that financial audit. We saw the Three Kings article that was written about the conflicts of interest associated with IEDC. That was the lead on this. And by the way, the IEDC took your tax dollars and way overpaid for tons of farmland in the Leap District so that they could give it to billion-dollar corporations like Lilly and Meta. That's what you've got there. Oh, by the way, they're building this massive data center, and it's not even, it should use data centers, and we'll talk more about this with Nikki Kelly. This is many buildings in here. You've got the issue with power supply and consumption and rising utility rates. You've got the issue with them trying to steal water from nearby communities. You've got crony capitalism at every single step of the way. And this event yesterday crystallized and brought all of those nasty pieces of politics together in one big event.
The worst part about this is no matter what was said, what was done, they won. They're moving forward.
You know what? And that really is that's the take in all of this. We've been talking about all these issues, AI and data centers and energy and stealing water and resources and the IEDC and the Leap District and fighting the good fight and talking about these things. And the bad guys won yesterday. I felt like we were we were Michael Jordan playing the Detroit Pistons in the 80s. And the Detroit Pistons and they were the bad guys, and they were smacking Michael Jordan in the face, and he would jump up and they'd slam him to the ground, and the refs might call a foul or give him a technical, and they'd beat the Bulls and Michael Jordan up, and they were the good guys. They were fighting the good fight against the bad boys from the Pistons. And every year in the 80s, Michael Jordan had to sit on the sideline on the last game of the season as they lost to the Pistons and saw the Pistons celebrating in the middle of the court. That's what this was yesterday.
And keep in mind that this is also a company that censored Hoosiers during the COVID lockdowns. But you know what? We're going to forget all about that because the check is big enough.
It's a big check. This is a tens of billions of dollars being spent here. And their money talked, and they got to win, and they got their big celebration right in our face yesterday while we were standing on the sidelines being forced to watch it.
Iowa lawmakers introducing a bill. Guess what they want?
This is great. This is great.
Guess what they want? It's more like guess who they want. They want the Chicago Bears.
This is not a joke.
You get an NFL team.
And this isn't just some group or some concept or somebody having fun with AI on Twitter. No, these are lawmakers in Iowa that spent time, and I'm sure plenty of taxpayer dollars.
Late to the game.
A little bit late to the game, but Iowa has now come up with a serious proposal that they are putting in front of the Chicago Bears to move the Bears to the state of Iowa. I figure, hey, Missouri, what have you been doing? You border Illinois. Where's your proposal to bring the Bears to Missouri?
What's Michigan doing?
Wisconsin? You guys just been doing nothing up there? What are you, frozen in your lakes in Wisconsin? Get your legislators together and put together a package that might bring the Bears to Wisconsin. Everybody's doing it.
So the lawmakers in Iowa, they introduced a bill, Senate File 2252, and they're trying to get the Chicago Bears by expanding the state's major economic growth attraction program. Guess what it's called? The acronym.
Major Economic Growth Attraction.
Mega.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. They've got incentives there to build this new stadium. And they say that they're ready for their Bears and that their current state can deliver a stadium deal. Of course they can.
Look, it's one thing for, us to talk about Indiana putting a Chicago Bears stadium pretty much on the state line. The border with Iowa, that's like a 2.5-hour drive away.
You got to go through Rockford.
Right. And there's nothing there. Des Moines is in the middle of the state. That's their biggest city. So they're talking about putting this like around the Quad Cities. Just the funniest thing. Go on Twitter and look for the artist renderings of this Chicago Bears stadium sitting right there on the Mississippi River, 2.5 hours.
They
from
already
downtown
have artist
Chicago.
renderings?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's out there. Yeah, right on the river there. But the Mississippi River, which is the border between Iowa and Illinois, and about 2.5 hours from downtown Chicago.
So obviously this is a long shot, but it does show what real free market competition will do.
Well,
whoever offers the best deal.
It shows what politicians are willing to do with your tax dollars. And the state of Kansas did this to lure the Chiefs away from Missouri. And now anytime lawmakers have a chance to spend your tax dollars to give billionaires a free stadium, now every state in the world is lining up to do it.
You're listening to 93 WIBC.
Oil lights never come on at a good time. You've got enough to juggle, so let Take 5 handle it. Drive in, stay in your car, and roll out in 10 minutes. No waiting room, no stress, just fast, friendly service. Visit Take5.com today to find your nearest shop.
Hey, what's going on? It's Hammer from the Hammer and Nigel show, and I'm not going to lie to you. I needed help. I got a bald spot in the back of my head, and it's embarrassing. I see it when I'm on television. I see it when I'm on the YouTube channel. So I decided to reach out for help. And my friends at We Grow Hair Indie decided to help me out here. These guys are the absolute best. I was a little leery about it. I could not have a procedure that, one, hurt, or two, left me looking like I'd been scalped. But after I talked with Darren and the entire team at We Grow Hair Indie, they told me their state-of-the-art technology, the progress made in hair growth, it's going to be okay. If I can do this, you guys can do this. Contact the team at We Grow Hair Indie, 317-522-2995. That's 522-2995. Get that free evaluation. It's free. You can also go online to WeGrowHairIndie.com. Contact them today and do this with me. WeGrowHairIndie.com.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
At Pella Windows and Doors, we've spent decades helping homeowners replace their windows and doors with products they can trust, installed by local experts. For a limited time, get 22% off Pella products. Visit PellaIndy.com/radio to learn why America's homeowners rate Pella Windows and Doors of Indianapolis #1 most trusted and highest value. Call 833-87-PELLA. Restrictions apply. See site for details. Study of homeowner perceptions of leading national brands. Study commissioned by Pella, 2023.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Airplay Live is coming your way May 15th, featuring Julie Haggerty and Robert Hayes. Relive the comedy classic like never before with stories, laughs, and unforgettable moments. Don't miss Airplay Live. More ticket information now at WIBC.com.
I'm Deidre Hall with a message about your eye health. My mother had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD, which means my family members are at greater risk.
I'm Dr. Sada of Doheny UCLA. AMD is the most common cause of severe, irreversible vision loss in older adults. If a healthcare professional suspects AMD, a retina specialist can confirm the diagnosis and work with you on a treatment plan.
Routine eye care can help maintain your vision. Visit geteyesmart.org for more information.
Chase away those winter blues with a new car from Tom Roush Lincoln. Hurry in for the 8-9-10 deal from Tom Roush. Get $8,000 off new Nautilus or $9,000 off new Corsair. Or how about $10,000 off Lincoln Aviator? Come get a great deal on all three from Tom Roush, where our family served yours since 1972.
Corsair stock number L25566, MSRP 55340. Nautilus stock number L26030, MSRP 62705. Aviator stock number L25384, MSRP 79450. See dealer for complete offer details.
I don't wanna wait for all my
You've heard the phrase, a healthy person has a million wishes, a sick person only has one. And with the passing of James Van Der Beek, I think that is a huge reminder of that. Life and legacy matter more than celebrity. He was the star of Dawson's Creek and also Varsity Blues, and he passed away yesterday due to colorectal cancer. And I think this also is an opportunity for us to encourage regular health screenings and also to support families who are dealing with serious illnesses, even if they are famous or known for something other than just an illness.
Yeah, it's sad to see. I mean, this guy was pretty popular. Now, I was a little bit too old for the type of shows and movies that James Van Der Beek was making. But if you're 35, if you're 40, if you're 45 years old, that's probably right in the wheelhouse. You probably grew up watching James Van Der Beek on Dawson's Creek. Of course, the movie Varsity Blues was a big part of your childhood, probably, as that was a monster movie about high school football, and James Van Der Beek was the quarterback in that movie. But you make a really good point, Casey, about the fact that, you always look for silver linings in sad stories like this about him passing away way too young. Always a good idea to get your colonoscopy done. And I know it's no fun. Everybody hates the prep. Everybody hates the prep for a colonoscopy, but you end up during the procedure, it's the best nap you'll ever get in your entire life. So there is kind of a benefit to it. But yeah, go to your doctor. They're recommending colonoscopies younger and younger these days. So you may think, oh, you know what? I'm not 50 yet. I don't need a colonoscopy. Those recommendations are coming in much younger than the old ones of waiting until you're 50 years old.
He put a message out about a year ago, and he said that he was known for celebrity and he had status, but while he was battling cancer, all of that was stripped away. And he found himself alone in an apartment dealing with a sickness, and this is what he learned.
And so I was faced with the question, if I am just a too skinny, weak guy alone in an apartment with cancer, what am I? And I meditated, and the answer came through. I am worthy of God's love. Simply because I exist. And if I'm worthy of God's love, shouldn't I also be worthy of my own? And the same is true for you.
Absolutely.
That story stinks. Just a sad story, leaves a wife and I believe 4 children behind.
I think it was 6.
Is it 6 children?
Yeah.
By all accounts, just seems to be a really, really nice guy that had this tragedy. I think one of the other sad parts about this is, he was a very successful Hollywood actor in television and movies. He ended up having to sell a lot of memorabilia and open up a GoFundMe to pay for his medical care, because that's how expensive these cancer treatments have been over the years. But sad story for James Van Der Beek, passing away yesterday at age 48.
He said that he was worthy of God's love, and it makes me think many people turn to God in times of need. Don't forget to turn to him in times of celebration as well. It is 93 WIBC.
Over, Bassett Services is the name you can trust to keep your home warm and safe. From furnace repairs to full system replacements, we provide reliable solutions with care and professionalism. For urgent repairs or routine maintenance, Bassett delivers service you can depend on. We've been the first call for heating and cooling in Indianapolis for decades, so sound the hound at BassettServices.com for all your heating needs. Bassett Services.
Always by your side.
Furnace on the fritz? Call Howald Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing. Get an honest assessment on your current furnace or a great deal on a new one. Howald Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing, where coming home never felt so good.
The Attorney General's office wants to put your money back in your pocket. Visit indianaunclaimed.gov and search for yourself, your loved ones, or your business. It's fast, easy, and free.
IMI is hiring CDL Class B drivers for their ready-mix trucks. Receive a great starting wage, outstanding benefits, and a generous retirement plan. Learn more at driveimi.com.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snow snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Coming up in 2 minutes from the Dugan Air Heating and Cooling Mitsubishi Electric Studios, you'll hear what the new IMPD chief had to say in a meeting Wednesday night about crime, what's being done to honor a teenage girl in Fishers who was killed, and who's coming to the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. Those stories and more after Fox News on 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis, and it's now 10 o'clock.
This is a Fox News alert. An ICE pullback in Minnesota. I'm Dave Anthony.
I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude.
That's Borders' our Tom Homan. After all the anti-ICE protests over immigration enforcement tactics and 2 deadly shootings in Minneapolis.
As a result of our efforts here, Minnesota is now less of a sanctuary state for criminals.
Citing unprecedented cooperation with local officials apprehending those here illegally with criminal records, and they'll continue going after those immigrants.
Law enforcement officers drawn down from this surge operation will either return to the duty station or be signed elsewhere to achieve just that.
This is Democrats keep demanding ICE reform, including unmasking agents, ahead of a deadline to fund Homeland Security by tomorrow night. Senator Mark Kelly says,
well, I need to see, a significant change in this agency before I'll approve any funding for it.
A vote for DHS funding today in the Senate is expected to fail. A collision in the Caribbean involving 2 U.S. Navy ships during a fuel and supply transfer. There were 2 minor injuries. Those ships part of an advanced U.S. patrol targeting drug trafficking boats. On day 12 of the search for Nancy Guthrie.
Deputies in Pima County, Arizona, and the FBI are now testing a pair of black gloves found a little more than a mile away from Nancy Guthrie's Tucson home. And TMZ says they've received another message, this time offering to name the kidnapper.
And for the price of 1 Bitcoin, that person will disclose the information.
Says TMZ's Harvey Levin. 1 Bitcoin was trading at more than $68,000 this morning. The authenticity of that letter has not been verified.
That's Fox's Eben Brown. A win in court for President Trump as he sues the BBC for defamation. A federal judge refusing an attempt by the British broadcaster to delay the case, setting a trial date for February of next year. The president wants the BBC to pay him $10 billion, alleging in a documentary about the 2021 Capitol riot it edited his speech that day. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
A meeting of the minds on crime. A partly cloudy sky, and it's 30 degrees in downtown Indianapolis. I'm John Herrick. Here's what's trending at 10:02. The new IMPD chief, Tanya Terry, met with the Indianapolis City County Council Wednesday night for the first time. Excuse me. Pointing out that violent crime in the city has gone down.
What this department has achieved over the past few years belongs squarely to our officers, detectives, and professional staff.
People who live on the east side got to hear her speak at New Direction Church during the City Council's Public Safety Committee meeting. You can read more about the other topics she addressed at WIBC.com. A celebration of life ceremony will be held tonight in Fishers for Haley Busby, who died at the age of 17. It'll be at the I-Town Church on East 136th Street, with doors opening at 5 o'clock and the service beginning at 6. You're encouraged to wear her favorite color, pink, if you want to show up. It will also be streamed online. Police believe Busby was murdered by a man she met while online gaming. The statewide average for gas today is $2.84 a gallon, according to AAA. That's 10 cents higher than this time on Wednesday. Temperatures could get as high as the 50s this weekend throughout the state, and possibly the 60s by next week. Casey Crosby at the National Weather Service in Indianapolis says there could be rain again on Saturday.
Just be mindful of the potential if you live near a creek or a river that the river or creeks could rise and could lead to some flooding. And we'll keep monitoring that potential as we go into the weekend.
He says Indiana's going to be in a more mild weather pattern in the coming days. And 6 former Notre Dame football players have been invited to this year's NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis. Len Clark reports.
The Fighting Irish are represented by running backs Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, wide receiver Malachi Fields, tight end Eli Raridan, and offensive lineman Billy Schrouth and Emil Wagner. Love, the reigning Doak Walker Award winner, headlines the group, while Price joins him as part of one of college football's most productive backfields. The combine runs February 23rd through March 2nd at Lucas Oil Stadium, giving the former Irish players a chance to boost their NFL draft stock. Len Clark, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Then I'm Sean Herrick on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Well, here's a stat that's going to piss you off. You've contributed as much as 12.4% of every paycheck to Social Security. The government distributed this money like a Ponzi scheme, and now they're warning this fund could run out of money in 8 years, which could mean a 23% cut in benefits. The decision as to how and when you file for Social Security today is a lot more complicated than you will ever know.
That's why we want you to get a free Social Security analysis from Bill Demery, your retirement guy in Indy. Bill knows Social Security like the back of his hand. He'll shoot you straight. So if you've saved more than $200,000 but have not yet filed for Social Security, schedule that free analysis right now by calling 317-648-5120. 317-648-5120 or go to yourretirementguy.com.
Well, it is that portion of the program where we check in with the person who has her finger on the pulse of the State House. And if she doesn't have her finger on it, she has her finger on someone who has their finger on it. It is Nikki Kelly from Indiana Capital Chronicle. Nikki, big doings yesterday in Lebanon. The governor was there. The Meta $10 billion data center campus. All eyes are focused on that. Let's talk about it. A $10 billion data center campus. And there's a lot of questions about it. So I guess I just want to start with this. Do we know how much will the tax incentives cost state and local taxpayers over time?
I think we're still trying to understand the full incentive package. I mean, it sounds like the state incentives are mostly the sales tax exemption that already existed in law. So that's not necessarily, a new thing. So they don't have to pay sales tax on their utilities, which will clearly save them, hundreds of millions to billions of dollars. And then the other state tax credits that they can get are performance-based. And so the IEDC says, until they hire those people and train those people, they don't get that money. So they think that covers them there.
So $1 million per year for 20 years for energy bill assistance. What safeguards have they mentioned that are going to ensure that residents aren't going to see higher utility bills?
Well, according to both Meta and the governor, first of all, Meta is covering all the upgrade costs of anything that's being upgraded for electricity. And, they say they're covering the full amount of any, utilities that will come into their area. Obviously, they have to pay their utility bills. So if they're paying for the upgrades, I think that would cover it. The governor has been pretty insistent on that point. Additionally, they say they're going to invest in projects, renewable projects such as solar, wind, to put basically as much back on the grid as they're taking off.
Okay.
Nikki, so and correct me if I have any of these details wrong, but this Meta data center that was opened yesterday is just one portion of the broader LEAP District project. And I know that Meta has been talked about. Remind me again, are there any other businesses that are committed to the LEAP District, or are we still just stuck with this one Meta data center?
Well, first of all, it was interesting to me. People think data center, one big building. This is a massive campus. It's 13 buildings.
Wow.
Including 10 data center buildings.
It's like 1,500 acres.
Yes. And yes, it is on LEAP as well as Lilly. So Lilly is the big, LEAP partner. So right now we have Lilly and Meta there. And I think they're taking up maybe 3,000 acres of it themselves. So, those are the only two committed so far, but those are pretty massive on their own.
Now, they've said that they plan to restore 100% of the water used to the local watersheds. And I'm just curious, how is the state going to verify the company's water restoration claims?
Yeah, I mean, again, I've asked for the full. We've asked for the full agreement between the state and Meta, and have not received it yet. They do file reports with water authorities on how much they use, so we'll be able to see that every year. And yeah, so I mean, some of it is, obviously these are their commitments. And we will have to watch them going forward. But I will say, being at the event, I mean, we've known Meta was coming for a while now. It kind of leaked out, but no one would, quote, confirm it. And so it seems that they have put together this massive package on the electricity front, the community investment front, the water front, to try to, be good stewards and neighbors. And I'm sure that was partially related to all the pushback that Indiana has seen, in the last year.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of trust us. Just trust us.
Trust and verify,
Trust but verify.
I mean, I'm not really sure what they could say up front. Again, these are commitments. They will have to keep pace with them and file certain documentation with the IEDC, and hopefully we'll know more about that once we get the full agreement between the IEDC.
Yes, because when we think of IEDC, we think of transparency. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Nikki Kelly from Indiana Capitol Chronicle is joining us. Okay, let's move on to this Indiana receiving the first ICE detainee payment, and it's $1.17 million from the federal government.
Yep, that was just for October's detainees. That was submitted a while ago, but it was technically submitted during the federal government shutdown, so everything's been pushed back. But they finally got the first payment, and you can see, at $294 a day. So now Indiana is starting to recoup, not only their costs, but there were some initial upfront costs that the state had to pay to upgrade parts of the facility.
Nikki, how many detainees are currently housed there?
They average about 550 right now. So, and that's been obviously ramping up, and they can do up to 1,000, but they're averaging about 550.
And Nikki, these payments, are they just for that facility that we opened up near Grissom Air Force Base, or are there other facilities that in the state that we're housing illegals at that the government is reimbursing us for?
No, this is just for those being held at the Miami Correctional Facility, the 1,000 beds that were made available. Basically, Miami is a mirrored institution where they have kind of two sections. They only had one section open for state prisoners because they couldn't staff the other section. Under this, because of the additional wages they're offering, they say they're able to staff both sections now, but they keep the prisoners and the detainees completely separate.
How long does the agreement go for with the federal government? Do we know?
It's a 2-year agreement, and I think October was the first month that we started fully taking them in. There was some prep work done in September.
Yeah, and now there's consideration ICE is going to have a permanent location in Carmel, correct?
That's what I've read, just like you. I don't know anything specific about that issue.
Yeah, a new place for the blue-hairs to go protest. There's another story that you have at Indiana Capitol Chronicle about this lawsuit over removal of ICE tracking platforms. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so there are two people who had different platforms that were not necessarily tracking ICE. One of them, the Indiana resident Mark Hodges, was more archival. It's like archiving all these videos you're seeing out there of interactions with ICE. And so it's not really tracking them in live things. But anyway, the DHS came out and threatened Apple and Facebook to remove these things from their, Play stores, their app stores. And now the two people who run these two different platforms have sued, alleging First Amendment censorship.
But we don't know if there were any actual laws broken by the tracking platforms.
Not that it has been alleged. they basically were just, I think it was Pam Bondi and Christy Nome saying they wanted them removed because they were allegedly putting ICE in danger. Again, the Illinois person, there are basically two plaintiffs in the case, was more of the tracking issue. The Indiana person was more archival, wanted to keep all these videos in one place of all these interactions that we're all seeing all over social media.
So you also have a story at Indiana Capitol Chronicle. Nikki Kelly is joining us. Lawmakers considering new restrictions on the syringe exchange program. Some supporters say it could increase oversight. Other people say it would undermine addiction recovery efforts. What is the latest with that?
Yeah, this is a pretty fascinating issue. The Republicans are, very split. Obviously, there are some law and order Republicans who just don't like the idea at all about, a needle exchange program. There are other Republicans who say this obviously is a public health issue. If we keep the clean needles and the not sharing of the needles, we keep communicable disease down. And then in addition to that, because this is a touch point where addicts can go, they eventually get services and get clean. Not all of them, but, they've been very successful at getting these people into programs. So, yeah, but now they're going to put in some new restrictions. It's still under discussion. The big one that is very controversial is requiring identification to exchange the needles. Obviously, when you're talking about addicts, using illegal drugs, there's concern by advocates that they just won't come to that anymore, and so that will basically dismantle the program on its
Right.
own.
They don't want to supply an ID because, they just don't want to be known.
So now, Nikki, this came out originally, this program in 2015, and it was a 10-year program, and it was designed to come to an end or be option to be renewed here. What are they looking at from a renewal standpoint? Are they looking to do another 10 years, or are things changing from the way the program was done originally in 2015?
They are changing. The bill originally by Senator Mike Crider is a 10-year renewal. The amendment that was accepted this week would make it only 2 years.
Wow.
Massive change. And then the third change they really did that would be different is require a one-for-one needle exchange. I think the data is that they get back about 86 or 89% of the needles they give out. They say it sounds easy one for one, but when they explain how the program works, you kind of understand why they don't physically count one for one, because they're returned, a lot of them, in these sharps containers. We have one for my dad who's diabetic and my cat. And, for someone to actually go through a container of used and dangerous needles and physically count every one is a danger. And so they weigh them and they estimate based on the weight how many needles are returned, that this would require a one-for-one.
Do we know which communities are relying on these programs the most? Is it Indianapolis?
There are 6 communities that do that. One is Allen County.
Fort Wayne.
Hold on, I'll just grab that really quick. Allen, Clark, Madison, Marion, Monroe, and Tippecanoe.
Okay. All right. Finally, let's talk about the new journalist that the Poynter Institute has hired as the Indianapolis public editor. What is that?
Oh, yeah. So Poynter is a nationally renowned, actually globally renowned journalism outlet, and they've hired an Indianapolis public editor. Think of it as like a media critic. Mm-hmm. The idea behind the position is we're trying to build trust, right? I think there's been a lot of trust that we've lost for journalists, and so they will act as a conduit for the audience, for readers, for viewers, to understand journalism better, maybe differences between outlets, and to sometimes question how decisions are made by reporters, and basically just increase literacy of journalism, ethics, decision-making, and really try to engage the audience to understand, the mechanics behind all that.
Do we know what specific media outlets the public editor is going to review? Does that list come out?
any outlet is fair game. Now, there are some partners, including us, who have agreed to run their weekly columns that they will approach an issue about. Maybe one day they'll discuss criminal crime coverage or, whatever. So there are some of us who have agreed to run their weekly column. But, yeah, it's open to criticize, applaud, both ways. Anyone in the Indianapolis media market, and it's an 18-month pilot program.
So, Nikki, this reminds me, decades ago, newspapers would have what they would call ombudsmen, which were essentially internal employees that would be a check and balance or kind of do their own internal critiques of that. Is this basically just an ombudsman, but for the entire media ecosystem in Indianapolis?
I mean, kind of, but of course, no, in that case, that the ombudsman was controlled by, right? They hired the person by so it's an outside perspective. Pointer hired them with grant funding and through their own. So they're not employed by anyone in the media market.
Just a reminder, we are commentary, not journalism. We're not reporters.
So don't come sniffing around this show with your critiques from the Pointer Institute.
Nikki, what are you working on right now?
Oh gosh, we're just trying to get through this week. It's been a rough one. When you get down to the last weeks of the session, they start moving stuff around and trying to save language or fix language. Mm-hmm. So next week I think we've got a story coming out on some issues involving the penny phase out and some legislation on that. And I'm working on an editorial tomorrow about the budget process and sort of what the difference is between giving tax breaks versus opening the budget, which is very frowned upon in the legislature.
She is one of the best from the Indiana Capitol Chronicle. Nikki Kelly, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's 93 WIBC.
February is when excuses disappear and effort has to show up every night.
It's been a rough couple weeks for us, but this group will keep fighting, keep learning, and get back on track.
The Big Ten is stacked and postseason hopes are at stake.
Confidence is one of those things, like you drop a couple and then you got to figure out a way to put it away fast. There's another one coming right in front of you.
IU meets Illinois, Sunday at 1 on the home of the Hoosiers, 93 WIBC.
Kid Rock, a celebration 250 years in the making. Freedom 250 Tour, The Road to Nashville. Friday, June 19th at Ruoff Music Center. The American Badass, Kid Rock, with John Party.
Got a little dirt on my boots, but I'm taking you uptown tonight.
On sale this Friday, 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. The ultimate American party, Kid Rock.
Find what you love, love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Guides in the know and prices so low. It just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
With curbside pickup and delivery available, you'll always find what you love, only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
It's just alcohol. Everybody drinks. You may have already heard this statement from your teen. I'm Tammy Silverman with Indiana Youth Institute. Alcohol is the substance most commonly abused by teens. Survey data shows that 2 in 10 Indiana high school students reported drinking in the past month, and more than half of Hoosier teens say it would be easy to get alcohol. How do you talk with your teen about alcohol use, especially if they see peers or adults drinking? First, understand that your child may point out contradictions in our society's views on alcohol. It's okay to acknowledge those facts. Talk with your teen about the many risks of alcohol use. During your conversation, you can both validate their views and uphold your family values. You are the first line of defense against alcohol abuse, so don't be afraid to talk to your teen. What you say has a big influence on their decision to drink or not. This Kids Count Minute is a message from Indiana Youth Institute. For more parent tips, visit IYI.org.
Kids count on you.
Progressive knows life takes you in many directions.
Bear right at exit 32, then begin to wonder why you never bought a fish tank. In 1.3 miles, you'll realize you've been mispronouncing epitome your whole life. At the roundabout, you will remember you said something at dinner you wish you hadn't, and will think about it for decades. You have arrived at your destination, but it turns out there really is no destination, and life just keeps going.
Wherever life takes you, protect your home and auto with a bundle from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Upgrade your flooring with Drexel Interiors. Shop pet-friendly carpet and luxury vinyl plank on sale now. Plus, get 12 months interest-free financing. Visit their Indianapolis or Carmel showrooms or drexelin.com.
It was needed because local police were not supporting ICE. And now that the police are supporting ICE, the surge not needed as much anymore. It shows that when you have cooperation with state and local law enforcement, everything improves, including the deportations of dangerous criminals. You've got Tom Homan, who came out and announced this morning that there was going to be the drawdown of ICE officers in Minnesota. They're pulling out completely.
Yeah, this is breaking news. Tom Homan, Borders Are, just finished a press conference where he announced an end to the immigration enforcement surge in Minnesota. And I think that there's going to be some people that are going to be upset about this and saying that, we shouldn't back down. We still need to deport illegal aliens, and all that's true. But I think this is a great example showing how important the narrative is. And let's keep in mind, too, there's been a lot of polling on this, and the numbers are pretty clear. 80% of Americans want to deport all illegal Americans, illegal aliens, but only 40% of Americans were supporting the actions that ICE was taking in Minneapolis. So the problem here is the American people,
execution.
Yeah, they support the mission,
Mhm.
but the execution was poor. And people have said this, and ICE just lost the narrative in Minneapolis. And I think it was smart of Trump to, sideline Kristi Noem, send her back down to the Mexican border. Tom Homan is just about as good as anybody in the Trump administration when it comes to talking and dealing with the media. That's how you get your message out there. That's how the administration gets the control back for this narrative. And I think that ICE at this point in time, with all that's gone on, and look, I'm not saying those ICE officers were guilty of anything that happened in Minneapolis. Let's let the investigation prove out, and if people need to go to trial, fine. That's how the legal system works. But this makes a lot of sense that it's time to take those resources and move them to other cities where hopefully we do have cooperation from local law enforcement. Hopefully we do have cooperation from the governor and state law enforcement, because we know now that when that's the case, these ICE raids become much more effective and less likely to cause problems.
Homan said that federal agents are going to continue a drawdown this week and next week, with many of them returning to their home states. But when you do have a policy shift like this, it does raise questions about next steps. What's going to happen next? Will there be other cities that will be targeted?
Yeah, there's nothing that says anything different. I mean, we know that ICE and Department of Homeland Security got a major funding boost last year during the Big Beautiful Bill. We know that the Trump administration is pushing for even more funding for the Department of Homeland Security. And ICE, we've seen all the ads. ICE can't hire enough employees. They're just basically giving out free money and up to $50,000 signing bonuses when you take a job within ICE. So I don't think there's any indication here that this is changing Trump's strategy from a national perspective. I think this is just all about what happened in Minneapolis.
We are a self-governing country, and one of the ways that works is that there is somebody to hold our elected officials accountable. But you've got a lot of media markets that are eroding, and the very institutions that are keeping the check and balance are going away. And you had Senator Todd Young. He was warning about the decline of local news. He said it's not just a business problem, it's a fundamental threat to American democracy. Interesting. Todd Young wants to be held accountable by newspapers.
Oh, he doesn't want accountability for him. I'm sure he was talking about everybody else. Yeah, hold everybody else accountable, but I'm still going to spend trillions of your taxpayer dollars and waste a whole bunch of stuff that we don't need to be spending money on. And look, Todd Young is right in this, but also journalism is a broken business model for the most part. I mean, you've got to produce a product that people are willing to pay for in some form or fashion. And journalism is really taking it on the chin in two major ways here. Number one, were structural changes. We talked earlier about the decline of newspapers. The vast majority of journalism 30 years ago was done by newspapers. That industry got blown up with the internet, and those are just challenges that are nearly impossible to overcome. But the other one, absolutely self-inflicted by journalists. We all know that the mainstream media had this massive liberal bent for decades. It's gotten a little bit better because now we've got some more conservative voices. But go back 20 or 30 years. I mean, even before Fox News really didn't get a lot of national distribution until the late 90s. So go back 30 years to the mid-90s. Every single major media news outlet was massively liberal. New York Times, LA Times, the Washington Post, ABC, CBS, CNN, NBC, all of the news outlets were horrendously liberal. We know that they carried the water for the Biden administration. Let's remember what Joe Scarborough from MSNBC said before Biden dropped out of the race, calling Joe Biden the sharpest Joe Biden that he has ever seen. These people need to take some accountability for the disaster that the media industry is in, because part of it was structural, but a massive part of it was absolutely self-inflicted by every one of those journalists.
So Todd Young, he was speaking during a Senate Commerce Committee hearing, and it was based on media ownership. And he said that local journalism provides the essential information people need to make informed decisions. And at that hearing, they were discussing the FCC's 39% national ownership cap on TV stations, which broadcasters say is outdated, and it limits their abilities to compete with big tech platforms. Something that has happened because of that cap is the rise of people like Indie Reporter on X and your citizen journalists who have taken up the reins.
Well, that's the great thing about this country and capitalism is the market ends up self-correcting it. And so you had this massive drop in journalism over the years, and then you had these startups, just these individuals, citizen journalism and Indie Reporter on Twitter, which is a great follow. You should follow them if you're not. They're doing some wonderful investigations out there. But that is the market self-correcting itself. At the end of the day, journalism needs to put out a product that people are willing to pay for, either pay with their attention so you can sell advertising for it, or pay with their hard-earned dollars. And for a long time, that hasn't been the case.
So Todd Young needs to realize instead of expanding a top-down federal solution, he should be empowering local ownership and the local citizen journalists that are doing the work that newspapers used to do. You're listening to 93 WIBC.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
New cooperation between federal immigration agents and law enforcement in Minnesota. Partly cloudy and 32 degrees in downtown Indy. I'm John Herrick. Here's what's trending at 10:31. Here was Border Czar Tom Homan in Minneapolis this morning.
We now have the ability to arrest criminal aliens in the safety and security of jails throughout the state at the time they're being released, like we've done in other states. Arresting a public safety threat in the safety and security of a jail is safer for the alien, it's safer for the officer, and safer for the community.
And with that, he says the immigration enforcement surge operation in Minnesota has now concluded. A collision in the Caribbean between two Navy ships in an area patrolled by the U.S. Southern Command today. Southcom spokesperson Stephen McLeod says the ships collided during a replenishment at sea and left two personnel with minor injuries. McLeod says the injured personnel are in stable condition. Both ships have reported sailing safely. Now they're trying to figure out what caused the collision. To the Winter Olympics, where Team USA is hoping to flex its muscle once again. In speed skating, both the women and men will be competing for a medal on the short track today. Kristen Santos Griswold and Julie Latai are both participating in the women's 500 meter. Clayton Decleman is skating in the men's 1,000 meter. The U.S. already won gold after Jordan Stolz finished first in his 1,000 meter race on Wednesday.
It's one thing having people expect you to win than actually achieving that. And the feeling of that's pretty surreal.
And that's why Stoltz called it an unforgettable moment. I'm John Herrick on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
We had downsized. In that downsizing, my husband lost his man cave.
Everyone is talking about Galaxy Concrete Coatings and their transformation, like your neighbor Deb.
My husband and I were at the home show and saw all these vendors with garage floor coatings. The one that stayed with us was Galaxy.
Galaxy Concrete Coatings is 4 times stronger than epoxy.
I'm the only one home, and so it's nice when well-dressed, clean-cut, respectful wonderful crew show up. That's what Galaxy sent.
Commercial or residential, Galaxy transforms pools, patios, garage floors, and driveways in as little as 1 day. And it comes with a lifetime warranty.
Warranties are real important for us, and to know that should there be an issue, Galaxy was standing behind it. That's pretty much what tipped us over to go with Galaxy.
Click on GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com and remember to like us on Facebook.
We are so proud to open our garage door.
We're out of this world.
Listen, were you forced into getting a solar contract and now you just don't want it anymore? Maybe the solar company misled you. Or is your solar contract buried with hidden fees? Are you not saving the amount of money you thought you would on your energy costs? Don't worry. At the Solar Exit Hotline, we can help you cancel your solar contract, even if the panels are already installed. Our experienced legal team will review your contract and help you cancel it, possibly saving you thousands of dollars. You got to call right now for complete details. So listen, if you're not happy with your solar contract for any reason, we are here to help you cancel it. Call the Solar Exit Hotline now for immediate options to help you exit your solar contract. This call is 100% free.
800-798-9512. 800-798-9512. 800-798-9512. That's 800-798-9512.
For 22 years, Exercise Inc. has helped Hoosiers build muscle, lose weight, and transform their health, creating lifelong habits. Only takes 20 minutes once a week. Visit exerciseinc.com.
Too many borrowers took on debt without clear repayment plans, and they have unrealistic expectations of their earnings. And now they're got their hand out saying, help me. And instead of some costly forgiveness schemes, maybe, just maybe, we need to expand vocational training and have a say in what universities are offering at such a high price. This all comes down to the student loan defaults. They're rising sharply. Roughly 1 million borrowers have defaulted on their federal loans last year.
This is 100% the federal government's fault. A little bit from local government, state government too, but completely the federal government's result. Because sometime in the 80s or 90s, the federal government decided that every single young person should have a college degree. So what are we going to do? We're going to subsidize those. Listen to how stupid this is when I say it out loud. The federal government decided to let 17-year-olds sign loan documents upwards of $100,000 with absolutely no oversight, no accountability, no anything. Of course we were going to be at this stage. If you look back 30 or 40 years with those decisions that the federal government made, of course it led us to this exact moment in time. This is not surprising. Oh, and then, by the way, we spent 4 years under the Joe Biden administration where every time he opened his mouth, what came out was forgive student loans, forgive federal student loans. So everybody that had this massive student loan basically said, well, I'm not paying any more for that. Sweet daddy government's going to take care of that for me. And thank goodness we got Biden out of there. And none of that is coming out of Trump's mouth, thank goodness. But this falls squarely at the feet of the federal government. They they went into a free marketplace system and created controls and products and structural changes that allowed us to get to this place right now. And of course, we know what happened. We know what happened when the federal government says, hey, don't worry about this. We'll give you all the money you need, and it's going to be backed by the federal government. Well, what did universities say then? They said, oh, well, this is an easy thing. We're just going to keep raising prices because the money's free. It's government money at this point. It's your tax dollars backing these federal student loans at this point. Let's build all these gorgeous, beautiful dormitories and new buildings and hire all these administrators at our campuses all across the country and spend all this sweet, sweet government money that's been coming in lately.
So you've got millions of people that are delinquent, meaning they're behind on their payments, and many are sliding towards default. Nearly 10% of federal loan balances are more than 90 days past due, and the latest Federal Reserve Bank of New York data says that borrowers are now moving through the stages from early delinquency to default, and the repayment clocks have restarted, so start paying. And then you've got, I know this was a big discussion at the State House, and Ed Delaney was questioning whether, universities should be offering courses like, I think he said, underwater basket weaving. And as taxpayers, yes, we are funding those state universities, so we should get a say.
Yeah, this has been discussed a lot at the State House in this current session here, and they're trying to, create some more structure and guidelines for universities as to what they're spending their money on. And of course, what you hear from the universities, government should not be involved in the teaching of these children at these, fine educational facilities. Yeah, you know what? The state government gives Purdue University over $100 million, your tax dollars, $100 million of your tax dollars every single year. Yeah, state universities, if you're taking our money, we get some say in how you run your operation.
Speaking of Purdue University, Rep. Andrew Ireland put this out that taxpayer-funded Purdue University is hiring another foreign software engineer on an H-1B visa program. And he asked, does anyone believe that no qualified American can do the job for $149,000 a year? The school has graduated thousands of computer science students, and I'm looking at this position. It's a lead software engineer for the Department of Materials Engineering, and yeah, the pay is between $99,000 and $159,000 a year. Purdue, you can do better.
Yeah, and Purdue's done a lot of great things. In fact, probably been more financially sound than any of the other state-run universities. They haven't had a tuition increase famously in well over a decade now. But there are some problems there. But this is the result. When government is going to all of a sudden flood the marketplace and flood these universities with billions and billions of dollars worth of guaranteed loans, these universities just went on a crazy spending spree and figured they could do whatever they want. And the HB1 visa is another aspect of this, because you can't tell me that there's not somebody that is an American citizen currently living in the state of Indiana that's not qualified for that software job.
So you've got Gen Z who are feeling quite nostalgic for 2016. They want to go back in time, and it's starting to translate into their fashion demand. A lot of Gen Z posting on TikTok and Instagram, and they're posting their hauls. This is when you get a lot of it's not like an unboxing video, but it's when you open up things that you have shopped for, their haul. And they're recreating outfits from 2016. And no doubt they want to go back to 2016, because for them, that's when life was cheaper and things looked more promising.
Yeah, I don't think there's any. I think on almost all measures, things were functioning better. I mean, this was a good deal before COVID, and we all know that COVID broke everybody's brains and a lot of the supply chains and global systems that we relied upon. That's been a big problem for a lot of things a lot of the problems that we're dealing with today. That's kind of the core root of it all. But I do love a good try on haul video. You see that a lot. Somebody buys a new Chicago Bears or Indianapolis Colts jersey, or they buy a whole bunch of swag and they try it all on and put those videos on TikTok. It's fun. It's also, keep in mind, 2016 we peaked as a country, because that is when the Chicago Cubs won the World Series, ending a 108-year drought. So yes, I am all for going back to 2016.
I wonder, though, if this trend is going to change, because a lot of the brands that the Gen Z were putting on their videos, Abercrombie and Fitch, and I do believe that is under the L brand banner, which is part of Wes Lexner's group.
Yes, it is.
So maybe pick a different company.
Yeah. Well, then it's not nostalgia anymore. But yeah, there are some brands like Abercrombie and Fitch and Hollister and others that were problematic over the years, that maybe that's not what we should be going back to. But look, housing was affordable in 2016. The job market was great in 2016. We didn't have, the broken global supply chain that we have today. 2016 was a pretty darn good year.
So you've got a new trend, and it shows that the housing market is not so great. There was a new report that came out about housing this morning, wasn't there?
Yeah, just this morning. So the January home sales report came out, and you're going to see a lot of numbers. You always got to keep in mind when you see these things, there's a lot of data and numbers that are thrown around that really make absolutely no difference to your life. For example, overall housing sales were down 8%. And if I really don't care how many houses are being sold. The only thing you care about is, can I afford this house that I want? Well, the answer to that is still no, because the average home sale price also ticked up in the month of January to $396,000. So while sales are declining, there's still not very much inventory, and the price of the average house is still going up.
So you've got IU that is planning to commission and install a permanent bronze statue of Bob Knight. And the statue is going to be placed in the South Lobby alongside the existing 1976 National Championship team statues celebrating Knight's legacy at IU. Seems like this is a little late to me. Shouldn't this have already been done?
Yeah, it does seem like I was actually kind of surprised when I saw this. I was like, oh, Bob Knight doesn't have a statue? I would have just assumed he would have had a statue.
I mean, I agree with it. It's the right kind of tradition. You want to celebrate his achievement and his excellence, but it seems like maybe they're coming a little late with this.
And I think what happened here is so you certainly you can't. It doesn't make sense to build a statue when the guy is still coaching there. So you got to wait for him to leave. So that's number one. And then things were pretty messy when Bob Knight left IU, and there was some animosity and a broken relationship there. And I think it's taken a lot of time. And with Bob Knight's passing in the last couple of years, I think that's probably where we've seen the healing of all the wounds, and now it's time to build the statue. I guess they better start saving now, because in my mind, when you win a national championship, you get a statue outside the stadium. That's the way they've done it at Notre Dame. There's 5 coaches' statues outside of the Notre Dame football stadium. You've got Rockne, Leahy, Ara Parsegian, Dan Devine, and Lou Holtz. So, yes, you're going to build a statue to Bob Knight, and better start saving your pennies now, because eventually Kirk Cignetti deserves a statue outside of that football stadium.
Well, it does seem like they're trying to reform maybe his legacy, because not only that, but there's been some legislative moves to rename streets and roads in his honor.
Again, it was a broken relationship when Bob Knight left, and everybody knows Bob Knight still has a ton of fans here, but it was messy when he left there. Time heals all wounds, and eventually, what we're seeing now with the statue and maybe renaming a part of the stadium there.
They want to celebrate the winning record.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense. He was a legend. Bob Knight is on the Mount Rushmore for college basketball coaches. He deserves to have a portion of that assembly hall named after him, and he certainly deserves a statue outside of that stadium.
The statue is going to be designed and built by Hanlon Studios, and details on the timeline going to be announced later. Funding is coming from a private donor, by the way. And more on the IU front.
Yeah, please.
Somebody is betting already that Fernando Mendoza is going to be the MVP in his rookie year in the NFL?
Yes. So you can make, these are called futures bets. So you can already bet on who you think will win the Super Bowl next year, even though we just finished the Super Bowl. And yes, you can bet on who will win MVP. Gutsy bet, I think it's $1,000 bet. And if he ends up hitting it, it pays off over $200,000.
No, it was a $100 bet.
It was a $100 bet. That'll pay off over $200,000, but that means it's almost impossible that it's going to happen. So there has never been a rookie quarterback in the history of the NFL that has ever won the MVP. Now, maybe Fernando Mendoza can do it. Hey, I'd love to see it. I'd be the first one to sit up there and celebrate. But that is that's what they call in the betting world
a donation.
A long. I was going to say long shot, but your line of donation was much better. Yes, that's what they call a donation to DraftKings.
You're listening to 93 WIBC. Good morning.
Hammer and Nigel show back at it this afternoon at 3 o'clock. The biggest stories in Indy, the latest on the Nancy Guthrie disappearance, and I'm sure at some point we'll say something inappropriate.
From military life to a rewarding career in IT, kickstart your new journey in a matter of months in the fields of IT and cybersecurity, including AI. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including VA benefits.
Window Nation, WindowsNation.com. Window Nation was recently ranked highest on Forbes' list of best window installation companies, so you can trust Window Nation for high-quality, affordable windows. That's what I did. They were in and out of my house within a day, replaced the whole front of my house with brand new windows, saving a ton on energy bills, keeping the cold air out and the warm air in with Window Nation and WindowNation.com.
Schedule your fast and free estimate right now with Window Nation. Go to their website, WindowNation.com. Shop around, find what you like, but take advantage of this deal. Buy 4, get 4 windows for free, and get an extra 10% off. And again, a fast and free estimate is available at WindowNation.com. But to get the deal, you have to tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
2026 has arrived, America's 250th anniversary, and physical gold remains the ultimate store of value in an unsteady world. Gold has outperformed the S&P 500 over the past 20 years. Central banks are stockpiling it. Why? Because possession is the priority. This week only, Global Coin is offering a museum-quality 1-ounce 2026 MS-70 Gold Eagle at the best price in the country. Today's spot price of gold. No dealer markup. Perfect grade. Government issue. The first 50 buyers receive our hardcover critically acclaimed book, Modern Numismatic Masterpieces, absolutely free. This opportunity is brief. Supply is finite. Once this allocation is gone, it's gone. Call right now, 855-COIN-GOLD. That's 855-COIN-GOLD. No premium, just absolute scarcity, absolute quality, and absolute ownership. Anchor your wealth with the asset that lasts. Call 855-COIN-GOLD.
In a divided world, music remains our most powerful bridge, an art form that shows us again and again that we belong to one another. Music is the one language the world already shares. It crosses borders, dissolves fear, and reminds us of our common heartbeat. In every culture, in every generation, people turn to music to celebrate, to mourn, to heal, and to hope. It gathers strangers in community and transforms audiences into one collective breath. The Denise Graves Foundation stands where history, artistry, and humanity meet, illuminating untold stories, empowering future legends, and building a world where talent rises because of potential. The world is full of brilliance. We're here to make sure it is never hidden.
At Pella Windows and Doors, we've spent decades helping homeowners replace their windows and doors with products they can trust, installed by local experts. For a limited time, get 22% off Pella products. Visit PellaIndy.com/radio to learn why America's homeowners rate Pella Windows and Doors of Indianapolis #1 most trusted and highest value. Call 833-87-PELLA. Restrictions apply. See site for details. Study of homeowner perceptions of leading national brands. Study commissioned by Pella, 2023.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Don't miss the Dancing Worlds Tour, the greatest hits from John Mellencamp, July 18th at Ruoff Music Center. A night packed with the songs you love and the stories behind them. Ticket info on WIBC.com. Get yours before they're gone.
An ethics question revolving Jennifer Ruth Green. No, another one. Not the one from last year. This is new. There was an ethics complaint that was filed that alleges she used campaign funds to pay for legal bills related to the ethics investigation.
Yeah, so
an ethics complaint revolving an ethics investigation.
So keep in mind, last summer, Jennifer Ruth Green was under investigation by the Inspector General. Of course, she was a cabinet secretary in Mike Braun's administration. She ended up with an ethics settlement where she admitted to violating political activity and misuse of state property rules and agreed to pay a $10,000 fine. She also resigned, and now we're finding out that allegedly she may have used campaign contributions to pay for her legal bills associated with settling her last ethics fine.
Yeah, so using campaign contributions for something other than political or campaign-related expenses, like paying legal bills for personal or unrelated matters, that can be a violation of state and federal laws. And allegations like this could lead to more ethics penalties or legal consequences. These are under review, which means that this story will continue to evolve. And it's not just a civil ethics issue at this point.
Yeah, there could be potential criminal charges associated with this, but keep in mind, Jennifer Ruth Green, this is who the Republicans said was the next rising star in this state. Now, she lost in the House Race 1, District 1 House Race in 2024 to Frank Mervan. She only lost by a couple of points. But then she was given that cushy cabinet secretary job in Mike Braun's administration, paid her about $250,000 a year. She lasts about 6 months in that job before she ends up settling the ethics issue that she had and resigning for that role. And then she announces that she's going to run again in the 1st District. We have the entire redistricting conversation that happened in this state for what seemed like forever. And then when redistricting didn't happen, she decided that she was going to drop out of that race because she knew she couldn't win it. But this goes back to the redistricting conversation. Jennifer Ruth Green, according to the Indiana Republican Party, was the next rising star in this state, and they were willing to throw out their entire sense of right and wrong and redistrict the entire state of Indiana before the census came out, mid-census redistricting, and they were willing to do all of that so they could get more seats and give them to people just like Jennifer Ruth Green, who settled an ethics investigation and is now embroiled in another one.
I love this next story. We're going to classify this one under the best audio of the day file. This is just an uplifting story to maybe put a smile on your face. It's from the Cuteness Overload. Louisville police officers, they were looking for a missing 3-year-old boy when a dog came out of nowhere, jumped and barked, and eventually led them directly to the location where the young boy was rescued safe and sound.
It comes via police body cam footage from Louisville last month. A missing 3-year-old child. More than a half dozen officers on the search. They sent up a helicopter, but had no luck until this happened.
Oh, what's up, dude? There's a dog. Where's he at? Let's go.
That's Officer Josh Thompson responding to a dog that seemed to have something important to say.
It led me all the way back to the backyard. At that point, I'm thinking, okay, this kid's in this backyard.
And sure enough,
the dog went right to the back bumper. Check the rear here. Goes to the back bumper and just sat there.
Yeah, he's right here. After a quick lesson in car locks,
grab and pull it. I don't think I've ever seen a happier kid in my life. He jumped out of the car, bear hugged my neck, and wouldn't let go.
Good job, buddy. The dog had cracked the case.
Blast, he found him. Man, I don't know where the dog came from, but it was a blessing from God that day.
I think that shows the awareness of that police officer to pay attention to his surroundings. That dog was trying to get his attention and was successful. It's never a cat, though, is it? It's always a dog that comes to the rescue.
Proving that dogs are the superior pet for humans, obviously. But, I mean, this is just straight out of Lassie. What's that, boy? Huh? What are you trying to tell me? He's trapped in the well? All right, show me the way. But I mean, when I first saw this video, my first assumption, oh, this is AI. This is absolutely fake. No. That was police body cam footage. This is like a story that almost seems too scripted to believe. It's right out of Lassie, and I absolutely loved it. And the other factor in this, too, is that, like you just said, smart on that police officer to recognize that dog wasn't just randomly barking. Just trying to get the police officer's attention and show him to where this missing kid was.
You're listening to 93 WIBC.
Give me something I can feel your love teaching me.
Groceries, gas, just about everything you can buy comes with a tax on it. No matter what, the government's always there to take their cut of your cash. Your money belongs to you. That's why Congressman Jim Baird joined with President Donald Trump to pass historic legislation to ensure you keep more of your hard-earned cash. According to the White House, Congressman Baird's vote means Americans will receive a tax cut, saving over $10,000 every year. They'll get no taxes on tips for workers, and families will receive permanent increases to child tax credits and expanded child care access. That means bigger paychecks, a stronger economy, and more prosperity across our nation. To learn more about how President Trump and Congressman Jim Baird are saving American families money and putting money in your wallet, call Congressman Baird's office at 317-563-5567 or visit baird.house.gov.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
If the new year means it's time for new flooring in your home, Brothers Floor Covering is ready to help. Brand new carpet, hardwoods, laminates, and luxury vinyl plank in stock now. Plus,
Brothers Floor Covering can get you new flooring installed in as little as 2 weeks. Visit Brothers Floor Covering today at their new location, 8550 North Michigan Road. Discover why buying local means getting more, not paying more. Get the flooring of your dreams installed now. Go to brothers-floorcovering.com. That's brothers-floorcovering.com.
Start your engine! That's the American spirit at 200 miles per hour. A spectacle of freedom, innovation, and passion. The passion of nearly 500,000 race fans. An American tradition in its 110th edition. The Indianapolis 500, presented by Gamebridge.
Get tickets now at IMS.com.
United, we race.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Meet Drexel Interior's new cabinet line, Drexel Select. Premium cabinets with multiple colors and free in-store design. Get yours in just 5 days. Visit DrexelIN.com to upgrade your home today.
Coming up in 2 minutes from the Dugan Air Heating and Cooling Mitsubishi Electric Studios, how the new IMPD chief feels about accountability, why the town of Speedway is upset with a property management group, and when Haley Busby will be honored. Those stories and more coming up after Fox News Radio. You are listening to 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 11 o'clock.
The much protested ICE operation in Minnesota is being drawn down. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
There are some issues here. We fixed those issues. We've had great success with this operation, and we're leaving Minnesota safer.
Border Czar Tom Homan in Minnesota this morning citing unprecedented cooperation now targeting those here illegally with criminal records from local officials. After controversial enforcement that included 2 deadly shootings and a lot of protests, and Homan vows.
But we're going to continue to enforce immigration law.
Homan thanking Governor Walz for toning down rhetoric, local police agencies for access to jails, and help with keeping the peace, with a notable decrease in violent protests. Homan also saying in addition to taking over 4,000 criminal illegal immigrants off the streets, that ICE agents in Minnesota have also rescued over 3,300 unaccompanied and missing migrant children.
Fox's Jeff Manasso, that immigration enforcement is the focus of a Senate hearing now.
The administration's violent and heavy-handed tactics are an abuse of power.
Senator Gary Peters and other Democrats keep demanding ICE reform, or they'd block new funding for Homeland Security. Money for a lot of DHS operations runs out tomorrow night. It's day 12 of the search for Nancy Guthrie, and a tent has been put up in the front of the entrance to her home in Tucson, Arizona, where she was kidnapped. Fox's Matt Finn reports.
Of course, that doorstep has now become such a critical element of this investigation because we have seen that masked figure right outside of that front door. Also, the blood drops leading from the front door down the sidewalk to the gravel driveway. Perhaps the tent is protecting that blood and the evidence from the sun, or perhaps there will be ongoing investigations that they want to keep a little more discreet underneath that white tent.
There was a lot less home buying last month. Previously owned home sales dropped more than 8% in January. The National Association of Realtors says it's the biggest monthly decline in nearly 4 years. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Her stance on accountability. You've got a mostly cloudy sky across central Indiana, 35 degrees in downtown Indy, and 43 is your high today. I'm John Herrick. Here's what's trending at 11:02. In Indianapolis and across the state, some cities have civilian boards that review police actions to make sure if they're fair and accountable. IMPD started its oversight board in 2020. On Wednesday night, the new IMPD chief, Tanya Terry, spoke about that at a city council meeting.
I understand why the board was created, and I certainly appreciate and embrace community involvement in our policies and our process.
Terry's been with IMPD since 1999. The life of Haley Busby in Fishers will be celebrated tonight at the I-Town Church in Fishers. Doors open at 5. The service begins at 6. Busby was found dead earlier this month. Police believe she was likely killed by a man named Tyler Thomas shortly after the two of them met while online gaming. The town of Speedway has fined a property management group. Johnette Cruz tells you why.
Residents at a Speedway apartment complex are facing a messy health hazard. Town officials say they discovered raw sewage being illegally diverted into the parking lot at the Legend at Speedway while checking on snow removal. The property owner, KPM Property Management, was given 2 days to fix the problem but failed to take action. As a result, the town has issued a $2,000 fine. Town manager Grant Kleinhez says they won't stop issuing tickets until the site is safe and sanitary for the families living there. Johnette Cruz, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Gas prices have gone back up again. AAA says the Indiana gas average is now $2.84 a gallon. That's 10 cents higher than this time on Wednesday. Back-to-back wins for the Indiana Pacers heading into the All-Star break. They beat the Brooklyn Nets Wednesday night 115-110 with a mostly second-string lineup. Pacers head coach Rick Carlisle says he's proud of the guys, and he lays out what the next portion of the schedule should look like for them.
Use the time wisely, enjoy their families, get to warm weather if they can. You know, we'll see them Tuesday afternoon for practice at 4 o'clock, and then we'll have a practice the next day probably at 11, then we'll fly to Washington, and we'll get right back into it.
And that game against Washington is a week from today. I'm John Herrick on The Level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Hey, what's going on? It's Hammer from the Hammer and Nigel show, and I'm not going to lie to you. I needed help. I got a bald spot in the back of my head, and it's embarrassing. I see it when I'm on television. I see it when I'm on the YouTube channel. So I decided to reach out for help. And my friends at We Grow Hair Indie decided to help me out here. These guys are the absolute best. I was a little leery about it. I could not have a procedure that, 1, hurt, or 2, left me looking like I'd been scalped. But after I talked with Darren and the entire team at We Grow Hair Indie, they told me their state-of-the-art technology, the progress made in hair growth, it's going to be okay. If I can do this, you guys can do this. Contact the team at We Grow Hair Indie, 317-522-2995. That's 522-2995. Get that free evaluation. It's free. You can also go online to WeGrowHairIndie.com. Contact them today and do this with me. WeGrowHairIndie.com.
On this vote, the yeas are 218 and the nays are 213. The bill is passed without objection. A motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
So as an American, if this is what I have to do to safeguard our democracy, I'm going to do my part. I didn't put on a uniform, although I do have family members who have. I never wrote letters to my husband on the front line, although I would if he had chosen that direction. But I can certainly make sure that I'm properly registered to vote. So what we're talking about is the SAVE Act, and you have the U.S. House of Representatives who passed the Save America Act, which is a Trump-backed election bill, and it's aimed at changing federal voting laws. It was close, 218 to 213. You had one Democrat that joined the Republicans in supporting it. And the provisions of this bill, proof of citizenship required. No kidding.
Yeah,
really not a big ask.
Not a surprise. The surprise here was the vote was that close. I mean, it was a pretty close vote because we know this is what we talk about, an 80-20 issue, and the polling data is clear on this. 85, in fact, break it out among racial categories as well. It's not like, oh, well, this is driven by whites or something like that. No. 85% of white people approve of voter ID laws. 82% of Latinos. 76% of blacks. This is widely supported. Show me another topic where upwards of 80 to 85% of the entire American public agrees on anything. This is a slam dunk home run, and the surprise was this vote was actually so close. And the argument against voter ID is that it's too burdensome or it's too expensive. Keep in mind, every single state that currently has voter ID laws has processes in place to get an ID for free if you can't afford one. So I'm at the Indiana Secretary of State Diego Morales' website right now.
I'm sorry.
Obtaining a photo ID. If you do not possess an ID that is acceptable for voting purposes, public law requires the BMV to issue an Indiana state ID card for free. So the idea that this is a burden, or this goes back to the days of poll taxes, which were ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, is completely blown out of the water. Hey, there are states that don't have voter ID laws, and you can still get a free ID, like California. They don't have voter ID laws, but if you want a free ID so you can vote there, you can get it for free. So the idea that this is a burden, or that this will in place restrictions, or this will unnecessarily cost Americans money is simply not true.
I know exactly where my birth certificate is. I know exactly where our marriage license is. I know exactly where my valid photo ID is. So, okay, I might have to go into our important documents container to exercise my right to vote. It's called adulting. It's called being responsible. Now, the real goal here is to clean up the voter rolls and prevent non-citizens from affecting elections. If that's what I have to do as an American, as a woman, I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
Big deal. People are saying, oh, women don't have the time. They're taking care of their families. It's too much of a burden. No. Make it a priority. You do that with every other aspect of your life.
Yeah, you have those documents because you're a normal functioning member of society. And if you didn't have those documents, you're enough of an adult to figure out how to go get it. And if you didn't have the money to pay for an ID to vote for it, the state of Indiana will give you one for free. All of the arguments against voter ID completely fall flat on their face. This is an 80 to 85% of the American public wants this. The vote in the House should not have been that close.
Okay, so you've got Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House. He's saying that this has become a bitter partisan fight, and he doesn't understand it.
We had only one House Democrat participate with us tonight. This has become a bitter partisan fight, and it's madness to us. We can't quite understand what the rationale is for opposing a free and fair election, but they're going to have to explain this to the people. They're going to have a hard time doing that.
So what you've got is it's ensuring election integrity, and it requires clear proof of citizenship, a photo ID. These are just basic safeguards that most people already accept in their daily life. Why is voting any different?
And Speaker of the House Mike Johnson kind of playing coy there a little bit. He's like, well, I have no idea why people would be against this. Yes, we all know, because the Democrats have told us through their actions exactly why they're opposed to this. Joe Biden gets into office, completely opens the borders, wide open. Anybody can come on in. We get tens and tens of millions of illegal immigrants coming into this country, and they did that because they know that some of them are going to end up voting, and they're more likely to end up voting Democrat. That's why that vote in the House was so close, because Democrats know that if this law passes, it makes it much more difficult for Democrats to win elections going forward.
Of course, you've got critics who are going to say that it could disenfranchise millions of eligible voters. And then an article published in USA Today, the title of the article, I'm just pointing out some biased media for you. House passes bill that could create voting barriers for married women. No, it doesn't.
And the context for that, for married women having it, is the
name.
Yeah, exactly.
Matching.
If they take their husband's name when they get
That's
married.
What the marriage certificate is for.
And so then the birth certificate name doesn't match the driver's license name. But again, there's ways around this. The Democrats that are throwing up all these objections make it sound like these are completely insurmountable odds. There's no possible way that we could fix these potential problems. Yeah, there is. We talked about subsidized free IDs that you can get from states. It's pretty simple. You run education campaigns. Hey, voter laws are changing. We just did this with the real ID, which now you need to fly. We've been talking about it for years. The government has been putting out these education campaigns. If you plan on flying, you need that star in the top of your driver's license. You need a real ID, and here's how you get one. Pretty simple. You just do the same thing with this law passes. Hey, there's new voting requirements. You're going to need this, this, and this, and we're going to help you, and we're going to hold your hand, and we're going to give you all the information you need to get your documents. And by the way, if you can't even afford that driver's license or that ID to vote, we're going to take care of that too. Problem solved. These are not these insurmountable problems. We're not talking about trying to fix health care.
Oh,
okay?
and by the way, you have time as well.
All the time in the world to be able to get this done. It is so surprising. This is one of the most common sense, hugely supported bills by the American people. But we know the Democrats are fighting this because if it passes, much harder for Democrats to win elections going forward.
Yeah, so the bill's now going to move to the U.S. Senate. It's probably going to face a difficult path. Senate rules require 60 votes to overcome that filibuster, and we'll see. It's going to be a tough fight for him.
So keep all of this in mind, because what you're going to see is it is going to go over to the Senate, and Chuck Schumer is going to whine and cry, and he's going to get up on the floor of the Senate and talk about all these objections that they throw up, which were easily able to be overcome. But keep that in mind when you see all of this, because if this bill ends up dying in the Senate, it is Chuck Schumer's fault. That's who killed this bill if it doesn't make it out of the Senate. Now, hopefully, maybe with some changing of the rules and getting rid of the filibuster for this specific one, we can get this passed. But look, we've had trouble getting Republicans on board with this. There's been some squished Republican senators like Lisa Murkowski in Alaska and Susan Collins in Maine who were like, well, I don't know. Maybe we should. Maybe we shouldn't. So there's Republicans out there that need some convincing as well.
Speaking of Susan Collins, we'll get to her in just a little bit. But I'm not a psychiatrist. I do think there is a habitual element to it, not necessarily from what is being fed to you within the content, but how you manage your daily life. There is a landmark trial that's underway in Los Angeles, and plaintiffs are suing social media companies, including Meta, Instagram, and also YouTube. And the plaintiffs are saying that they're designed to be addictive. Now, TikTok and Snap have already settled similar cases to this, but this case could influence thousands of other lawsuits in the future. The central plaintiff in this case is a 20-year-old, and they're saying that the Instagram has made them addicted to social media. You've got the Instagram boss. He testified, and he says he doesn't believe that people can be clinically addicted to social media platforms. And there is a difference between a clinical addiction and problematic use. I hate to say it. I kind of agree with the CEO of Instagram on this.
Yeah, I hate to be on the side of social media companies on this because we know they've done some nasty stuff. COVID misinformation and COVID restriction of information, probably one of the more egregious things that they've done in the last decade or so. But I'm with you. It does kind of pain you, give you the willies a little bit to sit here and say, yes, I have to agree with Meta. Yes, I have to agree with Instagram. About what we just talked about with voter ID. This comes down to personal responsibility. Mm-hmm. You have a responsibility to use whatever tools are out there in the marketplace in a safe and normal manner. And if you can't use them responsibly, then that's on you. That's not necessarily on the social media company. If you can't come up with your documents to be able to get an ID to vote, that's on you. That's not the responsibility of the government.
Instead of rushing to redefine every tech habit as addiction, we need to respect that personal responsibility, and also parental oversight needs to come into play here.
Right. These are not easy things to bring into your home, especially for your kids. You have to go out and buy a smartphone for your child, activate it with a cellular service. That's going to cost you, what, $1,000 for an iPhone? You're going to be paying $20 or $30 or $40 a month for an additional line on your cell phone bill. And then all of these phones have software in there where you can use parental controls, how many parents are actually using them. But all of the tools are in place for parents to do a better job in parenting, and you can't look to the government and you can't look to the court system when the failure is on you as a parent or you as an individual.
What this case does, depending on how it lands, it could potentially open the door for endless litigation on topics like this, and it does kind of chill innovation, and it could slow these things down. But this is what parents are facing now as they're raising the next generation. You're listening to 93 WIBC.
February is when excuses disappear and effort has to show up every night.
It's been a rough couple weeks for us, but this group will keep fighting, keep learning, and get back on track.
The Big Ten is stacked and postseason hopes are at stake.
Confidence is one of those things, like you drop a couple and then you got to figure out a way to put it away fast. There's another one coming right in front of you.
IU meets Illinois, Sunday at 1 on the home of the Hoosiers, 93 WIBC.
Well, here's a stat that's going to piss you off. You've contributed as much as 12.4% of every paycheck to Social Security. The government distributed this money like a Ponzi scheme, and now they're warning this fund could run out of money in 8 years, which could mean a 23% cut in benefits. The decision as to how and when you file for Social Security today is a lot more complicated than you will ever know.
That's why we want you to get a free Social Security analysis from Bill Demery, your retirement guy in Indy. Bill knows Social Security like the back of his hand. He'll shoot you straight. So if you've saved more than $200,000 but have not yet filed for Social Security, schedule that free analysis right now by calling 317-648-5120. 317-648-5120 or go to yourretirementguy.com.
Get great deals this weekend at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show this Saturday and Sunday at Stout Field in Indianapolis. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Admission is just $6 for adults, and kids 12 and under get in free. Attendees must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. This Saturday 9 to 5 and Sunday 9 to 3. Get directions and see upcoming events and more at CentralIndianaGunShows.com. That's CentralIndianaGunShows.com.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
While retinitis pigmentosa takes Mark's vision, his family gives him hope, whether at the family business or at home with his wife and sons. He knows he's not fighting alone. For 50 years, the Foundation Fighting Blindness has funded research into treatments and cures for blinding retinal diseases, providing hope to people with vision loss. And for Mark, winning the fight means being there for his family. The Foundation Fighting Blindness. Together, we're winning. Help us end blinding diseases at fightingblindness.org.
Upgrade your flooring with Drexel Interiors. Shop pet-friendly carpet and luxury vinyl plank on sale now. Plus, get 12 months interest-free financing. Visit their Indianapolis or Carmel showrooms or drexelin.com.
She crashed out, and it did not come across well. You have to ask yourself, are we talking about institutional cover-up? And where is the integrity? She stood before the TV cameras and said she was going to get to the bottom of it. She was going to release everything. And then when it got tough, she went on the defense. And what we saw yesterday in that judicial hearing with Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, was just how polarized oversight has become.
Yeah, it reminded me of watching an episode of The Office. I mean, The Office was supposed to be a comedy, but the funny part was about it was
how uncomfortable,
how cringy it was, and how uncomfortable it was, and that was the enjoyment and the funny part of it. This was all of that, but with no enjoyment and no funny part. It was just 5 hours of testimony, by the way, and just 5 hours of cringy Pam Bondi.
So you've got Representative Thomas Massey. He was talking to Attorney General Pam Bondi, and he was asking why she didn't have any questions to Merrick Garland over Epstein.
Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years? Did you talk about Epstein?
I am reclaiming my
the
time. I'm glad you're asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim
because
time
this
when
is
you don't.
bigger than Watergate.
When I don't answer a question the way you
goes
want.
over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And that's
now,
where the
I want to know at what point did the FBI and the DOJ decide that Lex Wessner was not a co-conspirator? Because our Epstein Files Transparency Act requires you, please put it back on the screen, please, to release the internal decision about whether to prosecute him or not, and it's not in the files, and it's not in the files for any of these other men.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
May she answer?
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the ban that we were talking about on deep fake AI porn. Only 2 people voted against it, and you were one of them, hypocrite.
So she didn't answer his question. She deflected right there. And you do remember that she said, we're going to hold these people accountable, and we're all about the victims.
Yeah, the best part about that was probably the best part that Pam Bondi had yesterday entirely was challenging that congressman on the fact that these inquiries are coming about during the Trump administration. Nobody said anything during Obama or during the Biden administration, and certainly the Democrats wouldn't have done that. But this is not Pam Bondi's first failure. She has been struggling since she was put into office. Keep in mind, when she was being talked about as Attorney General, she was going on all the talk shows and talking about how I am going to release those Epstein files on day one. That is something I'm going to do. So she overpromised and underdelivered on day one of her job. And then we saw that disaster last summer where she invited all of these conservative social media influencers to the White House and gave them binders and told them that we were going to release the Epstein files. Remember, Libs of TikTok was one of the social media influencers that was there, and then we all got these binders and saw what was in them, and it was nothing new. And now here she is again, looking like an idiot in front of Congress. Eventually, Trump is going to have to make a move with Pam Bondi. She is not working as Attorney General.
She did try to remind the lawmakers that there's due process and legal constraints matter, and underscore that accountability has to be grounded in facts. I'm sure she would have rather have been shopping at Zara in Tyson's Corner and than be there in front of that judiciary panel. She kept trying to look at Jim Jordan like, save me, help me, be my friend.
Yeah, she came across as like a spoiled 14-year-old girl trying to stomp her feet and get mad and argue with her parents as to why they shouldn't ground her. It was a terrible look for Pam Bondi yesterday. I guess the good news for her, it only lasted 5 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, just an incredibly long set of testimony, and she just came across. Every time you turned it back, every time I glanced back at the television, she just kept looking unhinged and off topic and talking about things that weren't being asked to her.
So why did she say more files were coming when she stalled? Why isn't she releasing the full files? And now there's reports coming out from Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert that they're being watched, what files they're looking up, which is an interesting element. But you're right. It was a very long day that saw a lot of grandstanding and a lot of fighting, and people say it's political theater. I think that those people really can't stand each other. I think that that was authentic dislike and animosity towards one another. So we're going to condense it all down. Here's a little montage for you of what happened with the Attorney General yesterday.
There was one redaction out of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
4,700,
Okay.
and we invited you
Show the video.
in. This guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get. You're a failed politician.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that she keeps going after President Trump, the greatest president in American history. And if they could maintain their composure, you don't tell me.
Yeah, oh, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in
With
the rules.
obsessed with Donald Trump, you have Trump derangement syndrome. All of you who participated in those impeachment hearings against Donald Trump, you all should be apologizing. You sit here and you attack the president, and I am not going to have it. I'm not going to put up with it. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about.
Trying to intimidate and punish these ladies.
Your time is
coming
up.
forward.
She's your time is up. Wow. Fiery exchanges. That was the takeaway from that entire appearance. Nothing but the yelling.
And trying to change the subject and distract by saying the Dow is over 50,000 when nobody was talking about that. Try that next time you get pulled over by a police officer and he says, hey, sir, do you know how fast you were going? Go, the Dow's over 50,000. I get to do whatever I want. What are you talking about?
So Prince Andrew reportedly received a large family loan from some of the senior royals to pay a settlement to Virginia Guthrie.
Yeah, this is
coming from the Sun, by the way.
Yeah, this is a bad look for the Queen. Look, I love the monarchy. I do. I love the British monarchy. I love the history. I love the little costumes they wear and all the rituals that go on with the monarchy. But the reason why I love the monarchy is because it's not my country. It's way over there on the other side of the Atlantic, and I get to treat it like reality TV, just as entertainment. But if I've studied a lot on them, if you've read any of the biographies about the Queen, she did a lot to keep the monarchy going and to keep it a viable thing in British culture. During some difficult times, we all know during the 70s and 80s and 90s, the royals had a lot of scandal, the divorce of Princess Diana and Prince Charles, and then Princess Diana's, tragic death in the car crash. And here was the Queen the whole time able to hold the monarchy together. And I find it so fascinating because these Epstein files are renewing talks as to whether the monarchy should still be a thing in British culture. So while the Queen kept it together that whole time, it was her undevoted love for her son that may end up being the act that brings it down. And I get that. Look, everybody said that Andrew was the Queen's favorite, and as a father, you're going to pretty much do anything you can for your kid. I mean, my daughter knows I'm her ride or die. Anytime, anywhere, whatever you need, I'm going to be there. It reminds me of the scene from the movie The Town, which was a gangster movie, and Ben Affleck is talking to Jeremy Renner, and he says, I need your help. Can't ask me any questions. We're never going to talk about it again, and we're going to hurt a lot of people. And Jeremy Renner looks at him and says, whose car are we taking? I get that. That's the undevotional love that a parent has for their child. But the fact that she was not able to hold Andrew accountable during this process may end up being the ironic move that brings down the British monarchy.
So it's being reported that he had planned to repay the family for the loan, but he hasn't paid a penny of it back. But I think that shows that, you can't just do everything behind closed doors instead of out in the open, because now there are calls for Andrew to come and speak in front of Congress.
Yeah, which is so weird because Parliament's not asking him to testify in front of them. He's not getting called into Parliament and answer these questions.
They're already done with him. They've already moved on.
And another aspect about this is these Epstein files are affecting British government dramatically more than American government. Now, there's some specific reasons why, and it looks like one of the guys that was tied to the Epstein files, the former ambassador from the UK to America, ended up trading secret information, British information, to Jeffrey Epstein for money. And so there's other aspects of that, but it is fascinating to watch that these Epstein files are absolutely impacting British government much more than they're impacting American government, which just seems bizarre and odd. Keir Starmer, the prime minister, he's had his chief of staff and his communications director resign in protest over the things that Keir Starmer was involved with. It's the UK, for a lot of reasons, is a mess right now, and these Epstein files are just one more.
Well, I wonder if it wasn't part of a closed-door conversation between Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu when he was at the White House. They were there to talk about Iran, but did other things come up?
And again, because there's no transparency, because we don't have all the information, what are we left to do?
Fill in the blank.
Speculate.
You're listening to 93 WIBC.
Your heat seems to be running a lot more than it should. You might be surprised to learn it's because the insulation in your windows has failed. Talk to the pros at Window Nation and get new windows with big savings during Window Nation's Buy 4 Windows, Get 4 free sale. Plus, you could get them 0 down, 0 monthly payments, and 0 interest for 2 years. If you act now, you'll get an extra 10% off. When your window insulation fails, usually due to old or cheap materials, all of your window energy efficiency disappears. The results? A house that is cold in the winter and hot in the summer.
Window Nation's windows use top quality materials and seals, along with insulated frames. They're so incredibly energy efficient that you'll actually save money on your utility bills. And they're backed with a lifetime warranty, so you don't have to live with broken windows anymore. Don't wait. Put an end to your window problems. Take advantage of Window Nation's Buy 4 Windows, Get 4 for free sale. And get an extra 10% off. Visit windownation.com for a free consultation.
You still thinking job change in the new year? Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy. IT? Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI. That's what I did. Really? How? Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up. Sweet. Are classes online or on campus? Both. Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu, an elite CompTIA certification partner.
Financial aid is available
available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
If the new year means it's time for new flooring in your home, Brothers Floor Covering is ready to help. Brand new carpet, hardwoods, laminates, and luxury vinyl plank in stock now. Plus, Brothers Floor Covering can get you new flooring installed in as little as 2 weeks. Visit Brothers Floor Covering today at their new location, 8550 North Michigan Road. Discover why buying local means getting more, not paying more. Get the flooring of your dreams installed now. Go to brothers-floorcovering.com. That's brothers-floorcovering.com.
2026 has arrived, America's 250th anniversary, and physical gold remains the ultimate store of value in an unsteady world. Gold has outperformed the S&P 500 over the past 20 years. Central banks are stockpiling it. Why? Because possession is the priority. This week only, Global Coin is offering a museum-quality 1-ounce 2026 MS-70 Gold Eagle at the best price in the country. Today's spot price of gold. No dealer markup. Perfect grade. Government issue. The first 50 buyers receive our hardcover critically acclaimed book, Modern Numismatic Masterpieces, absolutely free. This opportunity is brief. Supply is finite. Once this allocation is gone, it's gone. Call right now, 855-COIN-GOLD. That's 855-COIN-GOLD. No premium, just absolute scarcity, absolute quality, and absolute ownership. Anchor your wealth with the asset that lasts. Call 855-COIN-GOLD.
As student athletes, we want to shine a light on the true team players of every high school sports team, our parents.
Thank you for driving us to practice and cleaning our uniforms.
For selling concessions and hosting team dinners.
For making signs and painting your faces.
For cheering for our team, rain or shine, snow or heat, at home or on the road.
For the time, money, and energy you spent supporting us all season long.
Thank you for always being there for us.
And for everything you do to help us grow through high school sports.
You make it possible for us to play the sports we love, and we will always be grateful.
Mom, Dad, we just want to say
thank you.
I'm IHSA Commissioner Paul Neidig. Thank you to all the family members, friends, and fans who champion our student athletes by buying tickets to your high school's athletic events. This is showing our gratitude. This is supporting education-based athletics. This is your IHSAA.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
So what about the gloves they found? I'm Sean Herrick. This report is brought to you by Window Nation. Here's what's trending at 11:30. The FBI has recovered a pair of black gloves near Nancy Guthrie's house in southern Arizona and is testing them for DNA. Nancy's the mother of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie. David Romano is one of Nancy's neighbors.
Detectives have come twice and asked us, for our names, what kind of cars we drive, and if we have a truck.
This is the 12th day that investigators have been trying to find Nancy. Border Czar Tom Homan saying today that the immigration enforcement surge operation will conclude in Minnesota because they've made the progress they needed to.
We made personnel changes. We integrated BP with the ICE teams. We established a single unified chain of command structure. We strengthened joint intelligence and targeting capabilities. We deployed body cameras.
I'm Sean Herrick, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Snow fell over the frontier as Spanish troops moved through the woods, far from the Atlantic coast, yet fighting for the same cause, the fall of British power in America.
WIBC celebrates the spirit of 76. Brought to you by the WIBC Daily Newsletter.
February 12, 1781. Spanish forces crossed frozen ground from their base in St. Louis and captured Fort St. Joseph in present-day Michigan. The British garrison surrendered without resistance, and Spain even briefly raised its flag. The victory was small, but its meaning was large. The revolution had added another global power, and Britain had few friends.
The spirit of 76. History remembered. Freedom celebrated. Have the latest headlines and show content delivered to your inbox daily. Sign up at WIBC.com.
So you've got the U.S. House of Representatives, and they voted to pass a resolution to end the tariffs on Canadian goods. The vote was 219 to 211. And they just said this is not a national emergency. This is not something that Trump needed to do. So we're saying no to this.
Yeah, this is, like we talked about, this is political dinner theater because this is not a law that the House voted on. This is simply a resolution, which basically just means this is what we think. There's no binding anything associated with it. It's like when they introduce a resolution to congratulate the Indiana Hoosiers on winning the college football national championship. It's just a resolution. We're just making a proclamation. That's all this was. There's absolutely no teeth to this whatsoever. But the fact that you had a handful of Republicans voting against Trump on this. So there were Republicans from Nebraska, California, Colorado, Pennsylvania, and Washington that voted against this. And also, interestingly enough, one Republican from the state of Kentucky named Thomas Massey also voted against this. And that's not a surprise because Thomas Massey has said the entire time that this is, a changing tariffs is something that Congress needs to be involved. It's not something that Trump can just go about and do on his own.
Another way to look at this is it's Congress asserting their authority over trade and kind of, I will not be ignored, Dan. Like, look at us. We're important. The president can't just unilaterally do whatever he wants. We have a say in this as well.
And in theory, I like that. Congress, for way too long, under way too many presidents, has just given their authority over to the executive branch. So while I support Trump's tariffs, I also support the reasoning behind some of the people that voted to this that said, hey, look, no matter who's in office, no matter who's in the White House, Congress has to be involved in this process, and I think that Congress needs to do more of that. I wish they would do it with more than just resolutions, which don't mean anything. There would be nice if we could pass some binding laws that sit here and kind of redistribute those checks and balances, because right now the executive branch has way more power than the founders of the Constitution wanted and way more power than presidents have ever had in this country, and Congress just needs to kind of tip that pendulum back the other way a little bit.
I guess we're going to put this under the grifter and liar category. This is just an example of how some of these politicians, though, will completely change their mind and lie to you.
Right to your face.
Right to your face. So you've got Susan Collins from Maine. And if we fire up the Wayback Machine, 30 years ago, she said she would only serve 2 terms. Listen to this.
If elected, would you vote for congressional term limits? And I'd like to have an answer from each of you.
Let's start with Sue Collins. I do support term limits, and I have pledged that if I'm elected, I will only serve 2 terms, regardless of whether term limits law, a constitutional amendment passes or not. 12 years is long enough to be in public service, make a contribution, and then come home and let someone else take your place.
You heard that, right? I will only serve 2 terms.
I will only serve 2 terms.
Yeah.
That's 12 years. Just so that you know, Susan Collins has been a senator from Maine since 1997. That's almost 30 years.
Yeah. She said Maine voters are independent and don't just vote party lines. She'll support Donald Trump when she agrees with him and oppose him when she disagrees. Okay, so we have the 2 terms. From 30 years ago, she said that. But yesterday, this. Unwrapping a box of running shoes.
This is perfect for 2026 because I'm running.
Ha ha! Wow, hilarious.
How does she keep getting elected, though, in Maine, which is relatively a blue state?
Well, she's not really a Republican.
Oh, there it is.
I mean, she's, I think they call it Republican in name only. Yeah, so, I mean, she's technically a Republican, but certainly doesn't act like that. But it's just so disappointing. And I can think of certainly some local politicians that, people get excited about and think that, okay, this person is going to be different. And then as soon as they get elected, everything, all that stuff that they said to get themselves elected goes out the window. They get sucked into the political machine of just being part of the establishment.
That grift is just so good.
It's so good. Once you're on that government money and that government pension and all those government perks, it's almost impossible to tear yourself away from it. And I'd like to believe that Susan Collins, when she was running for office and she said that she would only run for 2 terms, I think she really believed it. I think most politicians really believe that they're going to be different. But the minute
their ego takes over,
it's a lot of things.
Nobody else can do it.
That's certainly a big part of it. Ego is a big part of it. This place would fall apart if I left. Absolutely. But the other part is, man, that government grift is so good. That government paycheck and all the government freebies and the incredible government health care and the government pension. It's too good to walk away from. But we saw it here. Victoria Sparks flat out said, I am not running for re-election. And then she turned around and said, oh, guess what? I'm running for re-election.
Yeah. Flip-flopper. You were talking about that government grift being so good. Under Donald Trump, federal employment has declined to its lowest level since 1966. And that's the lowest level in recorded history as a share of the total workforce. And that is good. Government does not produce anything.
No, and they are the single largest employer in the entire country is the federal government. And I look at this as, a little bit of vindication for Elon Musk and Doge, because those guys took a lot of heat and a lot of analysis afterwards. Were like, oh, those guys didn't save anybody any money. You know what? We didn't see this kind of government employment. 1966 was the last time we saw this few people working for the federal government. You can't tell me what Elon and Doge did. It absolutely had to have a dramatic effect on that.
But you've got federal spending, which is continuing to rise. And if spending is up and employment is down, where's the money?
Well, they're going to spend it on other things, and regardless of politicians. And yes, I'm all in favor of reduction of the number of employees being paid by the federal government. That's only one part of it. The other part is you actually have to put that money into your back pocket and not spend it. And we know that Trump spent his all the political capital he had from the 2024 election, spent it on the big, beautiful bill, which will just add trillions and trillions of more dollars to the national debt.
NBC did a major overcorrection. They apologized for what I would consider just an innocent broadcast slip. They used the wrong pronoun, Jim. That's offensive to some people.
Stop what you're doing. We got to shut everything down. Turn the broadcast off. This is absolutely our top priority. We got to get this fixed.
Yeah. So that's what they did. They called someone by the wrong pronoun, and this was in the Women's Moguls. And so they issued a formal apology, an overcorrection.
Yeah, this is a very weird story. So this is a woman who identifies as a man,
of course,
but is competing as a woman. So you can understand a little bit of the confusion that's going on here. And so the play-by-play announcers, while she was competing, referred to her as she and stop the presses. I mean, record scratch, everybody drop what you're doing. This is the most important thing. We got to fix it. So not only did NBC come out with an apology of this, but it looks like that they have deleted that portion of the broadcast from their web archives where you can watch this event online. They just completely removed it like it never happened.
By the way, Ellis Lundholm was the athlete's name, did not advance to the finals and finished near the bottom in qualifying. And J.D. Vance wanted to comment on what's going on with the Olympics and all of the politicalization of what the athletes have to say about their country, especially when they're overseas. Here's his take on it.
The Olympic athletes were unbelievable, and I know the entire country is rooting for them. Yes, you're going to have some Olympic athletes who pop off about politics. I feel like that happens every Olympics. My advice to them would be to try to bring the country together. And when you're representing the country, you're representing Democrats and Republicans. You're there to play a sport, and you're there to represent your country and hopefully win a medal. You're not there to pop off about politics. So when Olympic athletes enter the political arena, they should expect some pushback. But most Olympic athletes, whatever their politics, are doing a great job, are certainly enjoy the support of the entire country. And I think recognize that the way to bring the country together is not to show up in a foreign country and attack the President of the United States, but it's to play your sport and represent the country well.
It's not surprising that he would say that, but they're there to compete. They're not there to lecture, and you have to keep the politics out of the medal podium.
And I think it's the context associated with this. I don't think anybody's got a problem with these athletes having these opinions, but the problem is you're on foreign soil at the Olympics, playing for Team USA, wearing the stars and stripes, and this is the opportunity that you choose to do this. It just makes most people in this country uncomfortable and like, why are you being... It just comes across actually as very selfish.
The when and where is important.
It is important. You don't see me walking into Burger King and lecturing everybody in there about tax policy. I may be right about tax policy, whatever I'm saying about it, but doing it to total strangers in a Burger King is not the proper place to do it. That's great if you've got opinions about this administration, you've got opinions about ICE. At the Olympics, on foreign soil, while you're wearing the stars and stripes, probably not the best place to do it. And if you are going to do it, don't be shocked when most Americans are like, screw this guy, get him out of here. I'm going to root for somebody else.
Or if they have sponsors that turn away, it's their own destructive behavior that's going to cause the demise of their career and their liquidity.
It just doesn't make any sense to me on any level. They're going to have tons of opportunities other times to be able to voice their political concerns if that's what they want to do. It just came across as virtue signaling, self-serving, and just an absolutely selfish act, which is just the antithesis of what the entire Olympics stands for.
So you've got Charlie Woods, who is the son of Tiger Woods, has verbally committed to play golf at Florida State, and he's going to be a member of the 27 recruiting class.
Yeah, this is interesting because Tiger Woods, of course, went to Stanford and graduated from there, but now he lives in Florida, so not a surprise that his son Charlie is going to Florida State. It is going to be what I'm waiting to hear about this story is what kind of NIL money Charlie Woods is getting here. Now, the guy certainly, his dad's, millionaire many times over. I'm sure Charlie's not missing any meals or, can't make his car payment. That's not the issue. But NIL is a big issue, and it'll be really interesting to see, did he accept NIL money, or is he just going to Florida State because that's where he wants to go?
I wonder if he knows what it's like to live in Tallahassee. It's a swamp.
It is a swamp. We have spent some time in Florida
Swampy.
and in Tallahassee.
Mm-hmm.
And look, it's a great college town. I've always been, I don't have any allegiances to Florida State. Certainly respect what they've been able to do in their athletics over the years. It's always been labeled a great party school. There's a great college atmosphere around Tallahassee. And I'll also be interested to see how long Charlie Woods stays in college. Is he going to be there for all 4 years, or is this just kind of a one-year thing, and then I'm going to go pro and focus on my golf career?
You're listening to 93 WIBC.
Coming up on Tony Katz today, Tom Homan holds a news conference. Is ICE leaving Minneapolis? That's after the news at noon on 93 WIBC.
At Advent, nasal congestion and sinus infections can be solved with an in-office 20-minute procedure. Elsewhere, expect surgery.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Don Fisher for QC Kinetics. I was struggling with chronic knee pain and wasn't encouraged with the options of risky surgery and pain pills. QC Kinetics offered the best option for me, cutting-edge regenerative medicine. Their non-invasive treatment stimulated my body's own biologics so I could be pain-free and get back to doing what I love, playing golf. QC Kinetics has a fantastic success rate, and it's clear to see why so many Hoosiers are happy to tell their story of how they reclaim their lives with the QC Kinetics approach. Ready to live your life pain-free? Go to QCkinetics.com/Indianapolis or call 317-559-PAIN and get a no-obligation consultation. QC Kinetics uses the latest technologies, whether it's stem cell, PRP, plasma, or a number of other advanced therapies. Call QC Kinetics. It'll be the best call you will make. Get back in the game, whatever that is for you. Call 317-559-PAIN. pain.
Custom jewelry is not out of reach with PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse. At PA Jewelers, you can customize any piece of jewelry for that special someone. PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse in Brownsburg. Gold, diamonds, gemstones, and of course those watches from Flederman Von Riest, assembled right here in Indiana. Custom designed jewelry with PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse. Custom jewelry made just for you. PA Jewelers, 3750 South Green Street in Brownsburg. 317-456-4010. PAJewelers.jewelry.
Pella provides window and door replacement with products you can trust. For a limited time, call 833-87-PELLA or visit PellaIndy.com/radio and get 22% off Pella products. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner.
Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Find what you love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Guides in the know and prices so low. It just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
With curbside pickup and delivery available, you'll always find what you love, only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Get ready, Indy. Leonard Skinner and Foreigner team up for the Double Trouble Vision Tour live at Ruoff Music Center on Friday, August 7th with special guest Six Gun Sally. Find more details on WIBC.com.
We were just talking about that story, how NBC News, they apologized for a pronoun misuse in the Women's Moguls because somebody's feelings were hurt. And it reminded me of this 2007 World Cup Super G when the athlete actually got hurt. Not their feelings, but physically, their body.
Bertrand. Oh, the gate to the groin for Yannick Bertrand, and you could hear it. And if you're a man, you could feel it. Wow, watch this again. Oh, the Frenchman. Oh, monsieur.
Oh, no.
Wow,
so this is a mogul skier, and he's going down. And, you know, they have the little gates that they have to ski around.
And these were the big gates, the ones that have the two sticks and the little flag in the middle sticking up. And
one of them hit the guy right in the crotch.
Yeah, look. Isn't it funny how any other injury, athlete, Lindsey Vonn breaks her leg, and it's, oh, my gosh.
She had her third surgery, by the way.
What a tragedy. That's awful. Anybody else gets injured in an athletic event, all you got to do is have a guy take one to the groin and people think it's hilarious. Oh, monsieur.
Oh, monsieur, the Frenchman.
But I mean, I wonder if that's just human nature. I wonder if cavemen sat around and Gronk stepped on his club and it came up and hit him in the crotch and all the other cavemen started laughing. I'm going to guess that was the case because anytime a guy gets hit in the junk, you just can't help but giggle and laugh at it, and that's what we did there.
Well, it hurt him enough to stop him from finishing the race. He was done after that point.
Do you know, Casey, I know this, but women just don't have the concept of what pain is like when you get hit there as a man. I some say that childbirth is very difficult. I'm sure it is, but when a guy takes one to the package, you see stars.
Right.
You start sweating. Mm-hmm. It's the worst pain a human being can face. The absolute worst pain that any human being.
We should check your math on that.
Any human being can face in any situation is a guy taking one to the junk.
You might be exaggerating
Not at all.
Just a little bit.
Did you see that video of the skier? The guy he's going for a gold medal and he takes one into the junk and all of a sudden he's off to the side because he can't continue anymore.
Yeah, no, his head was down and he slowed down his skiing. He pulled off to the side.
Had his hands on his knees. He was leaning over, breathing deep.
I'm sure he's fine now. It's been a few years since that actually happened. He's going to get over it.
Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be good. I'm sure he was skiing again. You rub some dirt on it, you get back in it. That's what guys do.
Okay. I want to thank you, Jim, for today. Kevin, you did an excellent job today. Good work. We're going to be off tomorrow. We're not going to be here. We're heading to the D.C. area. We're going to check things out. We'll have a report when we're back Tuesday. Monday is President's Day. They gave us the day off for that.
You guys get President's Day off
We're
here?
going to celebrate in the nation's capital. That's what we're going to do. I believe that Ethan is going to keep you company tomorrow. So thank you for listening today. This is 93 WIBC.
The sun comes out. Last night was shaking and pretty low. My cave is burning. It scratched my skin. So what is wrong with another sin? The night is calling. I have to go. The wolf is hungry. He runs the show. Licking his lips. He's ready to win. On the hunt tonight for loving the skin.
It's time. You've been putting off that kitchen or bath remodel long enough. What are you waiting for? Get started today with Boer Remodeling. Boer Remodeling customer Kathy had a bath remodel with Boer. Kathy, talk a little bit about